Chapter 411. When Lu Su woke up and saw the exquisite mosquito net above her head, she was in a daze. Where am I? Where's Zhouji? She hadn't slept on such a soft bed in a long time. Lu Su sat up and looked at herself. She had been changed into a clean set of clothes, and her injuries had been treated. Was she saved by someone? Lu Su got off the bed and limped towards the door. Creak! The light from the outside rushed into the room, and a black shadow was projected into the room. Lu Su retreated in shock, her legs suddenly going weak, and she fell to the ground. Fu Yiyun was pushed in by someone, and he waved his hand to dismiss them. The person retreated, closing the door behind him. Lu Su stared blankly at the newcomer. She didn't recognize this person. Who are you? Fu Yiyun pushed his wheelchair and stopped in front of Lu Su. Lu Su looked into the eyes behind the mask. She could see hatred in them. Hatred? Lu Su shrank back. She had done many things for Fu Irue and offended many people. Could this man be someone she had offended before? Lu Su, you don't even recognize me? Lu Su's eyes widened. This voice, Fu Yiyun. You, why is he here? Lu Su's thoughts spun rapidly before she crawled over and hugged Fu Yiyun's leg. Yiyun Gij Suer thought I'd never see you again. Woo-woo. Fu Yiyun didn't react to Lu Su's tearful complaints. Lu Su might not know that he had seen her once at Fu Irue's place, but she had been dragged away at that time, and hadn't noticed him. If not for that time, he might have really believed Lu Su's words. Fu Yiyun suppressed the anger in his heart. Are you telling the truth? Lu Su wiped her tears as she said. It's true, Yiyun Gij. I was forced. They forced me. I had no choice. Yiyun Gij, can you forgive me? I was wrong. In the future, I'll serve you by your side, even as an ox or a horse. Fu Yiyun liked her so much. As long as she coaxed him well, even if he was a prince under house arrest, it was still better than her wandering outside alone. Fu Yiyun reached out to help Lu Su up. Stay here for now. He turned his wheelchair and walked out. He didn't look at Lu Su again. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself and would strangle her to death. But it would be too easy for her to die just like that. Lu Su, on the other hand, thought that Fu Yiyun's heart had softened, and she couldn't help smiling. As long as she used a little trick, she would definitely be able to capture his heart again. Fu Yiyun seemed to really accept Lu Su's words and gradually became more considerate towards her. However, Lu Su didn't realize that her range of activity was limited to the courtyard. Every time she wanted to go out, Fu Yiyun would find an excuse to change the topic. In order to capture Fu Yiyun's heart, Lu Su naturally threw this matter to the back of her mind. Fu Yiyun had spoiled her to the heavens, but just when she thought that she'd made Fu Yiyun grovel at her feet again, he dealt her a fatal blow. That day was her birthday. Although Fu Yiyun treated her rather well, he had never touched her. Lu Su wanted to use this chance to consummate her marriage with Fu Yiyun, and it would be best if she could give birth to a child. Her heart was filled with anticipation and pride, but she didn't know that Fu Yiyun was also waiting for this day. Fu Yiyun coaxed her into drinking the drugged wine. When she woke up the next day and saw the mess around her and a strange man, she felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. She was clearly with Fu Yiyun last night, so how could it be a strange man? After that, Lu Su never saw Fu Yiyun again. Different men came to her room, and she couldn't leave. No matter how she screamed, the only response she got was physical torture. How could Lu Su still not understand? Fu Yiyun had given her hope, but he'd cut it off. Lu Su couldn't bear the torture, and her body grew weaker by the day. One winter, she finally couldn't bear it. Fu Yiyun ordered his men to throw her corpse into the wilderness. Fu Yiyun didn't live for long either. There was too much poison in his body, and the only reason he could live for so long was because his karmic luck hadn't run out. Once his karmic luck ran out, he naturally couldn't survive. Shisheng avoided Jiangzhan for a long time, but Jiangzhan still found him several times. But Jiangzhan still managed to find her a few times. Every time he did, Shisheng's expression would be one of despair. He wanted nothing more than to commit suicide in front of Jiangzhan. In the end, Jiangzhan really did get threatened by Shisheng, and Jiangzhan never looked for her again. Until one year, Shisheng was found by Tingfeng. Miss Wuzheng, sect master can't hold on any longer. You should go back and see him. Ting Feng's voice was choked with sobs. How could it be? How many years has it been? How could Jiangzhan be dying? It's the Nether Mantra. They'd never heard their sect master say that cultivating the Nether Mantra would only reduce one's lifespan by half. No wonder none of the sect masters before them chose to cultivate the Nether Mantra. Shisheng and Ting Feng rushed back to the demon sect. Jiangzhan's room had been moved to the room she used to live in at some point, and she saw several things on the bookshelf as soon as she entered. They were all little girls' toys, and they looked very old. Jiangzhan had given them to her when he went into seclusion, and she'd left them behind when she left. Cough, cough. Shisheng frowned and walked over to the bed. Guyu stood by the bed, her face still stiff, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. When Guyu saw Shisheng, she didn't say anything. Instead, she turned around and pulled Ting Feng out. Awo, awo, awo. The puppy was lying on the bed. When it saw Shisheng, it immediately started barking. Perhaps because it was old, its voice wasn't as pleasant as it used to be. Jiangzhan lay on the bed with a pale face, his eyes staring into the void. A shadow slowly approached, and he turned his head. You're back. A slow smile tugged at the corner of his lips, but when paired with his pale face, it looked strange no matter how one looked at it. It was great that he could see her one last time before he died. What's the point? Shisheng sat on the bed. Jiangzhan seemed to understand the 3 words that came out of nowhere. He took a deep breath. I want to stand in front of you. He wanted to shelter her from the wind and rain. Shisheng pursed his lips. Do you have any last wishes? She didn't have anything to give him. Jiangzhan reached out. Shisheng hesitated for a moment, but still put his hand on hers. Jiangzhan tightened his grip. Who's the person you like? For so many years, no man had ever appeared by her side. Did she lie to him when she said those words? Fengxiai. His name is Fengxiai. Jiangzhan's eyes were filled with confusion. He had never heard of this person, but it wasn't important. Jiangzhan stared at Shisheng. I'll leave the demon sect to you. Shisheng lowered his head. Okay. I like you. I don't regret it. Really? At least, he had liked someone so much before. Jiangzhan seemed to want to say all the things he hadn't said to Shisheng. Shisheng listened quietly. Perhaps because he was tired from talking, he fell into a deep sleep. The 2 of them had probably never gotten along so peacefully. The next day, Shisheng heard that Jiangzhan had passed away. She was very calm. She calmly arranged Jiangzhan's funeral. In the end, Shisheng received a porcelain bottle of fresh blood from Ting Feng. This is from the sect leader. Shisheng gripped the bottle tightly. His breathing was a bit erratic. Asterisk the end of the 13th world. Chapter 412. When I was born, I heard that it was on a snowy day. Because the weather was too cold, my mother's body didn't survive that winter. I was born prematurely and didn't have breast milk, so there was a lingering illness. The first time I saw her was when my father and I went to see Medicine Granny, the Medicine Granny who was known as the Miracle Doctor. She was squatting in Medicine Granny's courtyard. I saw her as soon as I entered. She was white and tender. Although she was wearing coarse linen clothes, it couldn't hide her beautiful appearance. Father and Medicine Granny went into the house to talk while I stood in the courtyard. She had been squatting since I entered. I was curious about what she was looking at, so I slowly walked over. What are you looking at? I was already 8 years old at that time, so I was quite tall. When I stood in front of her, I almost blocked all the light in front of her. She lifted her head and puffed up her cheeks. She pushed me angrily. What are you doing? You stepped on my bug. Bug. I looked down. There was no bug, only a scorpion that was about to stab him. Ah! I screamed and retreated. My back was drenched in cold sweat. Medicine Granny heard the commotion and hurried out. She pulled her ear and said, Stupid girl, this is a guest. Are you trying to scare him again? Put your little things away. Don't scare little brother. She looked wronged. I didn't bully him. Although Medicine Granny looked angry, she didn't hit him hard. In the end, my father came out and said that he was just a child. When they went in, the little girl immediately stood up and walked past me with her face held high. She even stepped on me. I was already scared at that time. And when I was stepped on, It hurt so much that I almost screamed again. At that time, I thought, why is this girl so evil? However, I didn't know that her evil was far from that. My father put me at Medicine Granny's place to nurse my body. From then on, it was the beginning of my nightmares. At night, I saw snakes under my blanket when I was sleeping, I was stung by scorpions when I was wearing shoes, and I found bugs when I was eating. These things were too many to count. Later, I found out that the things she put in weren't poisonous. Even if I was bitten, it didn't matter. She probably found out that I knew, so she stopped doing these things and changed to other ways to play tricks on me. One day, another boy around my age was sent to Grandma Yao's place. Ever since the boy came, I realized that she didn't pay attention to me, but instead began to torment the boy. I didn't understand at the time why she was so mean. When I was about to leave, she suddenly treated me well, as if she couldn't wait to pack me up and send me away. She probably thought that I was here to steal Grandma Yao's love from her. At that time, she was only 5 years old. It was the time when she relied on adults, so it was normal for her to have such thoughts. 7 years had passed since then. When I was apart from her, I would occasionally think of the way she played tricks on me. I always felt that I hated her. After all, I had been teased by her before. When I heard the news of Granny Medi's death, I had just escaped with the demon cult. As the demon sect's young master, I had to support the demon sect. I couldn't leave at that time. So I don't know what happened to her during that time. When I meet her again, it will be at Jadewater Mountain Villa. That's not right either. I've seen her several times, but she doesn't seem to have any impression of me. It's like I'm a stranger. At that time, I didn't know why I was angry, and then there was a fight. Later, I understood that at that time, I was angry because she didn't remember me. When I realized that she wanted to kill me, I was very angry, so my attitude towards her became even worse. I also heard the rumors about her, but I didn't believe it. She was definitely not that kind of person. The world couldn't tolerate her, so I gave her a place to shelter her from the wind and rain. That was the only thing I could do for her. Her coming to D Mountain was completely out of my expectations. In the end, I was saved by her. My father once said that those things would become a disaster for the demon sect. My father wanted to destroy them, but before he could, the demon sect was besieged. After entering D Mountain, I didn't plan to leave alive. Being able to see the sun again, I couldn't tell if it was joy or something else. I only knew that I liked her. But she didn't seem to like me. No matter what I did, she was very calm. I thought that it must be because I was too weak, so I chose to go into seclusion to break through to the 9th level of the Nether Mantra. If I succeeded, no one in Jianghu would be my opponent. If I didn't succeed, then I didn't have the qualifications to stand by her side. She was so powerful, so dazzling. When I went in, I told her that if I came out, I would marry her. At that time, I didn't even dare to look at her expression. The things I gave her were the small toys I had secretly taken away from Medicine Granny's place. But I thought that she probably didn't remember. When she saw those things, her face was blank. It would be a lie to say that I wasn't disappointed. It was clearly a memory that belonged to the two of them, but I was the only one who remembered it. In order to make myself feel better, I could only comfort myself that she was too young at the time, so it was normal that she didn't remember. Breaking through to the 9th level of the Nether Mantra wasn't smooth, and I almost failed several times, but when I thought of what I said to her, I clenched my teeth and persevered. In the end, I succeeded. When I came out of the secret room, I saw her sitting outside, but before I could feel happy, she wanted to take my blood. I knew that she didn't like me, but I couldn't help being angry. She waited outside not because she was worried about me, but because she wanted my blood. I guess that she wanted my blood because of the sword, but I didn't give it to her. I didn't know if she would leave the demon sect if I gave it to her. So I didn't dare give it to her. Even if she didn't like me, I still wanted her to be in front of me. When I learned from her that she had someone she liked, I had mixed feelings. I was absent for so many years, and in the end, I wasn't the most important person in her heart. After she left the demon sect, I went to great lengths to find her, but I knew that even if I found her, she still wouldn't like me. I didn't know why I was so sure that she wouldn't like me. It was like a kind of intuition. Although the nether mantra was powerful, it also shortened one's lifespan. I wasn't afraid of dying if I couldn't get the person I liked, but I was afraid that she wouldn't have a good life in the future. That's why I had Ting Feng invite her over. I've always known where she is. I was very happy that I could see her one last time before I died. My only regret was I didn't participate in those bloody years of hers. I didn't give her someone to rely on when she needed me the most. I didn't occupy a place in her heart. Wu Zheng, I like you. Jiang Zhan. Chapter 413. After Jiang Zhan's death, Shisheng took over the demon sect and led it to riches. After her death, he had the demon sect bury her beside Jiang Zhan. Although he didn't know if Wu Zheng liked Jiang Zhan, if she knew that someone liked her so much, she probably wouldn't have rejected him. When Shisheng returned to the system space, the system didn't say a word and quickly displayed his information. Name, Shisheng morality points. 153000 health points. 35 contribution points. 31,000 mission rank. B mission points. 76 side mission. Failed side mission reward. None item bar. Queen's crown, Ghost King's heart, Dark Knight Shisheng. The side mission actually failed. My morality points are gone again. How frustrating. Shisheng's gaze moved down and landed on the item bar. What's Dark Knight? The system didn't give Shisheng a chance to speak. Do you wish to enter the next world? Initializing transfer? Mom, Dad, I'm leaving. A clear voice suddenly rang out. Shisheng quivered. He sat up and quickly scanned his surroundings. It was a European-style room. She sat on the floor. The room was a bit messy, as if someone had messed it up to vent. There was an artist propped up by the side with random scribbles on it. The door wasn't closed. A faint sound came from outside. Soon it was the sound of the door closing. Shisheng got up and closed the door. He began to receive the plot. This was a sadistic love story between a sister and a younger brother. The female lead, Qiao Qianqian, was studying at a university. The male lead, Tang Jinqian, was the son of a university's chairman. He was also a famous figure there. He met the female lead at school and fell in love with her at first sight. Thus, he began a series of pursuits. The female lead felt that she was too old and that her status wasn't good enough for the male lead. Thus, she never agreed. The female lead was adopted. Because the family didn't have any children, they adopted her at the orphanage. But not long after the female lead moved into their home, they had a child of their own. That child was called Xiao Chu, the original owner. At first, Xiao Chu didn't know that the female lead was adopted. She treated her sister very well. Whatever she bought, she would buy for the female lead. But the female lead already had memories of being adopted. She knew she wasn't the daughter of the Qiao family, so she deliberately kept her distance from Xiao Chu. Xiao Chu naturally sensed this. She tried. She tried, but the female lead became colder and colder to her. Xiao Chu was rebellious to begin with, and the female lead's actions triggered her rebellious heart, causing her to oppose the female lead at every turn. The more Xiao Chu, the more Xiao Chu's sister, the more. This relationship continued Xiao. Once, Xiao Chu bumped into the male lead, sending the female lead back. It just so happened that Xiao Chu and the male lead had some interactions. The male lead was about the same age as her, and they went to the same junior high school. Xiao Chu had always had a crush on the male lead, and she only got into a university because of him. Qiao. S Qiao Qiao. S Sheng Qiao's. S Qiao's ever since that day. Xiao Chu could see her crush and the female lead together every few days. She started to pursue the male lead. Xiao Chu and the female lead's relationship became more and more tense. Xiao Chu pursued the male lead, and the male lead pursued the female lead. The whole school knew about this love triangle. But in the end, the female lead still got together with the male lead. Not long after they got together, the male lead's family came looking for her and told her to leave. The reason was that she was older than the male lead. The female lead went to find the male lead, but she happened to see Xiao Chu and the male lead together. They were in an ambiguous position. At the time, Xiao Chu was drunk and bumped into the male lead. She wanted to beat him up to vent her anger and put an end to her crush. She was drunk and didn't have the strength to fall into the male lead's arms. The male lead already knew that Xiao Chu was the female lead's sister. As a brother-in-law, he couldn't throw the drunk original owner into a bar. So from the female lead's angle, it looked like the two of them were leaning against each other in an ambiguous position. Who knew that the female lead would coincidentally bump into them? What happened after that was even more melodramatic. The female lead already felt inferior because of her identity and age. She always felt that she wasn't good enough for the male lead. That incident was the fuse. The two of them had more and more conflicts. During that time, the female lead had a project and was working with a senior, so they inevitably got close. The male lead would definitely misunderstand. The two of them started to hurt each other. With the help of the male lead's family, the misunderstanding between the two of them deepened. The female lead successfully abandoned the male lead and went abroad to further her studies. The male lead felt that the female lead betrayed him, so he naturally didn't pursue her. You think that's the end? You're wrong. The timeline jumped to 5 years later. The female lead returned to the country. Who knew that she would apply for a job at the male lead's rival company? The two of them met in the business world and got entangled again. However, the male lead was already married to Xiao Chu. Yes, the male lead was married. The male lead married Xiao Chu because he was drunk and mistook Xiao Chu for the female lead. Xiao Chu couldn't resist, so the two of them got together in a muddle-headed way. Before the female lead came back, the male lead treated Xiao Chu quite well. But after the female lead came back, everything changed. The two of them dug up that incident. After the misunderstanding was resolved, the male lead felt that Xiao Chu did it on purpose, and that she was the one who seduced him. So his attitude towards Xiao Chu got worse and worse. Later, Xiao Chu accidentally got pregnant. The child wasn't the male lead's, but she got pregnant with someone else's child because of the female lead. The male lead used this as an excuse to divorce Xiao Chu. Xiao Chu naturally refused and got entangled with the two of them. In the end, she lost her child. Because she was in a daze, she got into a car accident and became a vegetable. Without her, the female lead courting disaster, the male and female leads soon buried the hatchet and lived happily together. Shisheng rubbed his forehead and walked around the room a few times, sorting out the messy plot in his mind. The current timeline was that the original host had just bumped into the male and female leads. She quarreled with the female lead, and the latter moved out of the house. It was still quite early, so the two of them weren't together yet. What was the original host's last wish? Why wasn't it there? Xiao Chu's wish was to stay away from the male and female leads, and have a wonderful life. The system suddenly popped up. So this mission isn't revenge? Although Xiao Chu was also at fault, the male lead forced her to sleep with him. But after the female lead appeared, he felt that she was the one who seduced him. Later on, because of the female lead, Xiao Chu slept with someone else. Xiao Chu was stalking the female lead at the time. Who knew that someone who wanted to harm the female lead would mistake her for the female lead? That was why she got pregnant. Of course, in the plot, she only had herself to blame. She was unlucky. Who told her to stalk the female lead for no reason and plot against him? Asterisk, please vote. Chapter 414. Shisheng didn't say whether she brought this upon herself or whether she was in the right or wrong. But now that she had such a chance, shouldn't she take revenge for something so depressing? Host, not everyone is like you. Killing and killing all day long. Some people, after experiencing a series of events, would choose to escape and let go. Shisheng didn't understand. How was it different? Wasn't it a pair of eyes, 2 nostrils, and a mouth? Wasn't it better to take revenge? Host, please don't act on your own initiative. The system reminded Shisheng. Did you think everyone was as strong as you? Its host was addicted to tearing apart couples. Did they provoke you? Shisheng shrugged. You know how awesome Plot Sama is. Even if I don't provoke them, they'll still come knocking on my door and push the plot forward. So, it really wasn't that she wanted to tear apart couples. It'd be a waste not to tear apart couples that came knocking on her door. Host, couples that can be torn apart aren't true love. Shisheng interrupted the system. The system felt like it had discovered something incredible. Did the host like tearing apart couples so much Because she thought they weren't true love? In a novel, the love between the male and female leads was usually the most resolute. That was why she liked tearing them apart so much and wasn't interested in other people. Then why did she think she and Feng Xiai were true love? Was there something wrong with her? Wait, the host said she didn't like Feng Xiai at all. Hard to operate. Wanna go offline to rest. Hashtag this host is simply going to ascend to the heavens. Hashtag asking for my host's brain circuit. Hashtag knock knock. Someone knocked on the door. Shisheng ended his conversation with the system and opened the door. Outside stood a woman dressed in rather formal attire. This was Xiao Nan's mother. The woman furrowed her brows, her expression unsightly. Xiao Chu, why did you get into a fight with your sister again? You made your sister so angry that she left. Xiao Mu really liked Xiao Qianqian. Sometimes, even Xiao Nan's position in her heart couldn't compare to Xiao Qianqian. Back when Xiao Nan got pregnant, Xiao Mu found out the child wasn't the male leads. She felt that Xiao Chu was ruining the family's reputation and wanted to sever ties with her. There was a reason why Xiao Mu didn't like Xiao Chu so much. Xiao Chu had been mischievous since she was young. She knew how to climb walls, climb trees, steal bird eggs, fight, skip class and play games. After entering high school, she became even more disobedient. She wore strange clothes, went against the teachers, and fell in love at an early age. Compared to the female lead who had excellent grades, was capable, obedient, and didn't make people worry, Xiao Chu was too troublesome. With this comparison, Mother Qiao gradually became disappointed in Xiao Chu. However, Mother Qiao didn't know that Xiao Chu was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. The stricter she was with Xiao Chu, the more rebellious Xiao Chu became. Shisheng leaned against the door. She left on her own. What does it have to do with me? It was just a quarrel. If the female lead hadn't wanted to leave this place long ago, would she have left? She's your sister. Mother Qiao couldn't help but raise her voice, her face full of disappointment. Look at what you've become. I sent you to school to study, not to let you study and bring back some messy habits. I'm going to bed. Shisheng slammed the door shut. Madame Qiao was banging on the door from outside, and the sound of her scolding could be heard through the door. In the end, Father Qiao came over and called Mother Qiao away. The Qiao family couldn't be considered wealthy, but they didn't lack money either. Father Qiao was a henpecked husband and obeyed Mother Qiao's orders. He was quite concerned about Xiao Chu, but whenever Mother Qiao was around, he didn't dare say anything. Because the female lead had moved out of the house, Mother Qiao constantly nagged Shisheng. Shisheng was annoyed by her nagging, so he packed up his things and went back to school. Chu. Father Qiao chased after her. You child, Mother is doing this for your own good. For her own good? She kept talking about the female lead. How was it for her own good? But this was what the original owner had done. Xiao Chu didn't think Mother Qiao was wrong. After all, everyone liked to listen to their own words. But she couldn't stand it if she kept nagging in her ears. It's inconvenient to live in school, and you don't know how to take care of yourself. Hurry and come back with me. Father Qiao reached out to grab Shisheng. Dad, I'm already so old. I know how to take care of myself. Shisheng broke free from Father Qiao. It's inconvenient for me to run between school and home. But how do you live in school? Father Qiao frowned. This child had never lived in school before. Shisheng was determined not to go back. In the end, Father Qiao had no choice but to let Shisheng go. The school was a 4-person dormitory. It had been a while since school had started. Shisheng was now living on campus and was assigned to the 4th-year dormitory. There were 2 seniors in the dormitory who were doing internships outside and living in rented rooms. The other one was preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam. She spent all day in the library and came back just before curfew. So Shisheng lived in this dormitory alone. Chu. Shisheng was about to go to the cafeteria to fill his stomach when someone patted him on the shoulder. Shisheng turned around. The person's name popped up in his mind. Chunxi. Although his name sounded feminine, he was a boy. Why haven't I seen you recently? Were you grounded by your family again? Chunxi had an expression that said he had guessed correctly. Chunxi's appearance wasn't particularly outstanding. but his smile was very amiable. He was also very friendly, and could be considered a celebrity in school. Chunxi and Xiaochu had a good relationship. When they were in school, Xiaochu was basically with Chunxi. Many people thought they were a couple, but in reality, they were just buddies. No. Shisheng turned around and continued walking. Chunxi blinked and hurriedly chased after him. What's wrong? Unhappy? Did your family scold you? I told you not to run outside all day. Shisheng. Someone kicked this chatterbox out of this treasure. This treasure just wants to eat in peace. You go get a seat. I'll go buy food. Still braised pork ribs? As soon as he entered the cafeteria, Chunxi consciously walked to the window. Although he asked this, he didn't wait for Shisheng to answer. He squeezed into the queue in a few steps. With his good relations with people, it didn't take him much effort to squeeze to the front. Shisheng found a seat by the window. Not long after he sat down, Chunxi came over with a tray. Here's your braised pork ribs. The original owner really liked braised pork ribs from the school cafeteria. Shisheng wasn't picky. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Hey, you're so busy and quiet today. Did you fall out of love? Chunxi couldn't stand it. Shisheng. Fall out my ass. She hadn't even found a man yet. Thinking of Feng Xiai, Shisheng felt a bit depressed. Feng Xiai wasn't in the last world. He didn't know if he was in this world. Who was the ultimate villain in this world? Shisheng thought for a long time, but couldn't find any information about the villain. So there was a hidden plot? If there was a hidden plot, it meant that Feng Xiai was here. Shisheng immediately sensed the spirit energy in this world. It wasn't weak. How mysterious. Asterisk votes please. Votes please. Chapter 415. Shisheng's mind was wandering, but Chunxi thought that his brother was sick. Chu, tell me what's wrong. I'll help you think of a way. Don't hold it in. Shisheng snapped out of her daze when she heard this. She gave Chunxi a baffled look. What are you holding back? Chunxi. How would I know what you're holding back? I'm fine. Shisheng put down her chopsticks and wiped her mouth with a napkin. She acted like a cold goddess. I've been planning to be a quiet goddess recently. Chunxi sighed in relief when he heard Shisheng's words. Are you crazy? You're more like a crazy woman than a goddess. Shisheng puffed out his chest. That's still a goddess-level crazy woman. Yes, goddess. You scared me to death just now. I thought you were heartbroken. Chunxi patted his chest exaggeratedly. I'm not even in love. How can I be heartbroken? Shisheng rolled his eyes at Chunxi. Why hasn't your idol made a move yet? I heard that your idol is very close to a girl. If you don't make a move, it'll be too late. Shisheng's mouth twitched. The idol this guy was talking about couldn't be the male lead, right? Shisheng searched through the original owner's memories, and found that it was indeed the case. I fell in love with someone else. Not long ago, he heard her say that it was her idol that she had a crush on for several years. Why did she fall in love with someone else after not seeing him for a few days? What happened in the past few days that he didn't know about? Shisheng straightened his face. The man of my dreams is a hero of the world. He's going to come and marry me on a rainbow cloud. If it's not today, it'll definitely be tomorrow. Chunxi's face twitched as he stood up. I'm looking forward to your hero marrying you tomorrow. Was this kid's Chinibu disease acting up again? It was a bit late to act up. The two of them walked out of the cafeteria one after the other. There's a computer class in the afternoon. Are you going? Chunxi asked Shisheng as he was leaving. He was the one who helped her choose the elective class, but this guy hadn't attended it even once. Every time she asked him, he would have to change his voice to answer her. Shisheng shook his head decisively. She could be a role model for these people in the industry. Why should she attend computer classes? Then I'll leave first. Keep in touch by phone. Chunxi waved at Shisheng. After Chunxi left, Shisheng slowly walked back to the dormitory, preparing to go back and take a nap. The girls' dormitories were connected together. Shisheng's dormitory was for the seniors, so it was closer to the postgraduate dormitory. When they went back, they had to pass through the postgraduate dormitory. In the end, as soon as he reached the bottom of the dormitory building, He was knocked dizzy by a group of energetic girls. Why are you running so fast? Is there a ghost chasing you? Shisheng pouted and blew air into his mouth. His gaze followed the group of girls. They stopped in front of the dormitory building and were discussing something excitedly. After taking a few steps closer, he heard someone saying Tang Jinshan's name. It seems like the original host bumped into the male lead, sending the female lead home. Only then did the male lead officially start to pursue the female lead at school. Shisheng tiptoed and looked inside. A tall boy was standing in front of the dormitory, holding bright red roses in his hands. Who is Tang Jinshan waiting for? Girl A asked the person beside her curiously. I don't know. I saw him standing here when I came out just now. Girl B replied. He's so handsome. I wonder who is so lucky to have caught the eye of our idol. Girl C looked like a love-struck fool. Ah, why didn't he fall for me? This is the postgraduate dormitory. Girl A seemed to have remembered something. Tang Jinshan is only a sophomore, right? If he was a postgraduate, then he must be older than Tang Jinshan. With this thought, the group of girls couldn't stay calm. They wanted to see which old woman had hooked up with their idol. No one came down from upstairs. When class was about to start, these people reluctantly dispersed. Of course, there were also those who didn't have classes and still waited with Tang Jinshan. No one dared to extinguish the fire of gossip. Someone's coming out. The gossipy crowd suddenly became excited. A girl appeared in the dormitory building. She walked a few steps in front of Tang Jinshan. Junior Tang, don't wait. Qian won't come down. Hearing the girl's words, everyone was disappointed. It wasn't her. But who was Qian? I'll wait until she comes down. Tang Jinshan raised his head and looked at the dormitory, his tone firm. Do as you wish. The girl turned around and went upstairs. Bzzzt. Shisheng's phone suddenly vibrated. It was Chunxi. Hello. Chu, come quickly. There's a new professor. He's taking attendance. Those who aren't here will have their credits deducted. Those who helped answer the questions just now have all been pulled out. Chunxi was probably calling him in secret. His voice was very low, and he hung up after saying that. Shisheng was silent for a moment. He calmly put his phone away. This school deducted credits at the drop of a hat. The original owner's credits had probably been deducted a long time ago, so it wouldn't matter if they deducted a little more. In the end, Xiao Qian still came down. She lowered her head and dragged Tang Jinshan towards the school's artificial lake. She was too fast. Many people didn't see her clearly, so they couldn't chase after her. They could only ask the people next to them if they saw who it was. Since there was nothing to see, Shisheng continued walking towards the dormitory. It was rare for the senior who spent all her time in the library to be there. Seeing Shisheng return, she smiled and greeted him. The senior asked curiously, Did you see Tang Jinshan when you came back? Yeah, I saw him. Guess who he's waiting for? The senior put on her jacket and picked up a book from the table. She even took the time to talk to Shisheng. Shisheng spat out 3 words without hesitation. Qiao Qian. The senior was surprised. You know, Qiao Qian came down? Shisheng shook his head. She came down, but no one saw her clearly. Then how did you see her clearly? The senior picked up her bag and walked to the door, waiting for Shisheng's answer. Shisheng smiled. Because my surname is Qiao. The senior was dumbfounded. What's wrong with your surname being Qiao? Could it be that the two surnamed Qiao have some special connection? Junior Tang seems to be in the same grade as you. He's a Prince Charming. What a pity. The senior shook her head. I'm leaving first. Don't leave the door open for me tonight. I'm not coming back today. What's a pity? What a pity. Does he like women who are older than me? In most people's minds, it was normal for girls to be younger than boys. Shisheng gave the senior an okay sign. The senior female dormitory was much more relaxed than the other dormitories. As long as the dormitory lady didn't let any boys in, she didn't even need to check on them. After all, the senior students were either preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam or starting their internships. Most of them weren't in the dormitory. Shisheng took a shower, changed into his pajamas, and prepared to sleep. She slept for more than 3 hours. When she woke up, it was already evening. Shisheng glanced at his phone. Probably because he accidentally muted it, there were a total of 10 missed calls. 7 were from Chenxi. The other 3 were from the same number, but it was an unknown number. Shisheng opened it. It was from the same city. Who is this? Just as she was about to call Chenxi back, the unknown number came in again. *# it's the weekend. Thank you to the cherub who tipped me ## come on, make a scene. Let's vote. #. Chapter 416. Shisheng hesitated for a moment before answering the call. Xiaochu. A magnetic male voice came from the other end of the line. Shisheng quickly filtered through his mind. There was no such voice in the original owner's memory. You are Qingge. The person on the other end paused. Your elective professor. Elective? Professor? Weren't those beasts all beasts? Why did he call me? Did he take a fancy to my beauty? Shisheng took the phone away and looked at the interface. After a while he put the phone back to his ear. And? You didn't come to class today. As your future professor, let me remind you that if you don't come to class 3 times, you can forget about getting credits for this elective. Qingge didn't seem to be easy to get along with. His words were not polite at all. Oh. Crazy. Shisheng quickly hung up the phone. She had studied it countless times in university. She couldn't come up with anything new. Therefore, pretentious Sheng didn't care about credits. After she hung up, Chenxi's call came in. Before Shisheng could say anything, Chenxi rattled on. Choo-choo. Why didn't you pick up the phone? Let me tell you, the new professor is so handsome. But he has a bad temper, and is always looking for trouble. He called everyone who didn't come to class. Did you get his call? I heard that if you don't come to class 3 times, you can forget about getting credits. So why did you choose this door for me back then? Shisheng spoke leisurely. You didn't let me choose it casually. Also, you have to use this for your painting course. Chenxi's voice was getting weaker. He didn't dare to admit that he had forgotten. Did the professor call you? Chenxi quickly changed the topic. He did. This nitpicky professor was looking for trouble. He didn't come to class and still made harassing calls. He heard that this professor came back from abroad and was only 24 years old. He was invited to be a guest professor at such a young age. It was obvious that he was a genius. In just one day, this professor's beautiful photos were all over the forum. Shisheng went to the forum to take a look. The shooting location was in a lecture hall. The man was wearing casual clothes and seemed to be taking attendance. He had sharp and handsome facial features, black and bright eyes, thin lips, and a serious and indifferent expression. Below the person who posted the post, there was a long line of people asking for her hand in marriage. In school, those who were handsome were often sought after. Therefore, now that there was suddenly such a young and shiny professor, these girls would go crazy. Shisheng closed the web page and forgot about it. She didn't know what was wrong with the original owner. She actually chose Chinese painting. Shisheng went there once. Even if she was beaten to death, she didn't want to go there again. As someone who was bad at brushing, he didn't know anything about traditional Chinese painting. Then, Shisheng was called to criticize him. Shisheng's indifferent attitude made the teacher furious. In the end, he simply ignored her. After all, she would be the one who would be unable to graduate in the end. During the Mid-Autumn Festival, Shisheng answered Father Qiao's call and went home for dinner. As soon as he reached the door, he ran into the female lead who was getting out of a taxi. The female lead was carrying a box of mooncakes. Her gaze swept over Shisheng. Seeing that he had no intention of greeting her, she walked straight in. Qian, you're back. Mother Qiao opened the door with a smile. Have you gotten used to living on campus? Why don't you move back in? Shisheng followed her in. Mother Qiao acted as if she didn't see him. Mom, it's pretty good. Mother Qiao's face was full of heartache. You've lost weight. The Mid-Autumn Festival will be over for a few days, right? I'll nourish you at home. Thank you, Mom. Qian's tone was clearly distant, but Mother Qiao didn't seem to notice it and pulled Qian into the kitchen like she was a treasure. Shisheng pouted and blew on the air. After greeting Father Chiao, he returned to his room. By the time Father Chiao called him over for dinner, Qiao Qian and Mother Chiao were already seated at the table. Mother Chiao and Qiao Qian were the only ones talking during dinner. Shisheng kept his head down and ate. Xiaochu. Shisheng paused in the middle of eating and raised his head to look at Mother Chiao. I heard you're not going to school. Mother Chiao looked at Shisheng with a stern expression. Oh, I don't want to go. Shisheng continued eating. We've spent so much money and you don't want to go just because you say so? Xiaochu, tell me what you're trying to do. Mother Chiao angrily slammed her chopsticks down. Mother Chiao was truly infuriated by this daughter of hers. It was one thing for her to be mischievous when she was young, but she's still so willful now that she's all grown up. Just eat and wait for death. Find a man. This is the life of a scumbag. I'm BBB, going to be a qualified scumbag. Mother Chiao was so angry her face flushed red. She yelled at Father Chiao. Old Chiao, look at what nonsense she's saying. Don't be angry. Father Chiao hurriedly acted as a peacemaker. Choo-choo, did something happen at school? Talk to your mom properly. She'll understand. I didn't. Then why don't you want to learn? Father Chiao frowned. I just don't want to learn. Shisheng took the last bite of his food. I'm full. I'm going back to my room. Xiaochu, stop right there. Mother Chiao stood up. Do you still have any respect for your mother? Shisheng waved his hand and rushed into the room. This wicked girl. Did I owe her in my past life? Back then, I told you that the major she chose wasn't good, but you didn't listen. You just had to spoil her. Look at what happened now. Mother Chiao probably knew that her daughter was stubborn, and could only throw a tantrum at Father Chiao. Don't be angry. I'll go talk to her. Qian, help your mother into her room to rest. Father Chiao patted Mother Chiao's shoulder. It was as if mother and daughter were born to hate each other. This meal didn't have the atmosphere of a mid-autumn reunion at all. Shisheng was tidying up the room. Many of the host's things were related to painting. She probably liked painting a lot. Unfortunately, Shisheng didn't have any talent for painting. Even with the host's memories, the things she painted were just barely passable. When Father Chiao came in, he saw Shisheng packing things up. He was shocked. Choo-choo, what are you doing? I'm tidying up the room. Shisheng made a chair for Father Chiao to sit in. You child. Father Chiao sighed helplessly. Why are you so at odds with your mother? Don't talk back to her no matter what she says. Do you think she'll hurt you? Dad, she won't hurt me, but I can't accept this kind of education. The host was so rebellious not only because of the female lead, but also because of Mother Chiao. The host was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Shisheng was an ancestor who was amenable to coaxing. Your mother's temper is a bit bad, but it's all because of you. Father Chiao was even more helpless. You should be more considerate of your mother. Shisheng didn't comment. His daughter was becoming more and more of a scumbag. The scumbag transformation plan was probably going to be aborted. Please vote. Chapter 417. Not long after this incident, Shisheng received an unexpected call, the contents of which surprised her even more. My major was actually changed. My major was changed. That's right, my major was changed. I was transferred to computer science. Shit, I didn't know about this at all. Don't they need my permission to change my major? Don't they need to take an exam? And I'm in my second year. She didn't need to guess to know who was behind this. Xiaofu was a businessman, but Xiaomu was from the Ministry of Education. She had a lot of connections, so changing her major would be a simple matter. But why would Xiaomu want to transfer me to computer science? I'm a girl, so why should I go to computer science? Computer science is my forte. Why the hell should I study it? Because of this, Xiaomu called her every day, and her messages and WeChat exploded. In the end, Xiaomu even threatened to leave the Qiao family if she didn't go and never return. Fine, I won't go back. As if I care. I saw Professor Qin today. He's so handsome. Isn't it rumored that he's fussy? I heard that if you attend his class, you have to hand in your phone. But he's still very handsome. It's not like I'm in his class. Sure enough, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Shisheng sat behind the girls, listening to their gossip while eating. Oh right, do you know who Tang Jinshan is chasing? The girl in front suddenly changed the topic. Who? Do I know her? The girl lowered her voice. Qiao Qian from the finance department. Her? Isn't she a postgraduate? Someone who recognized Qiao Qian immediately interjected. Isn't she older than Tang Jinshan? Yeah. Could it be that Tang Jinshan likes mature women? Asterisk clang. Asterisk a girl behind them accidentally knocked over her plate as she stood up. The girls were startled by the noise and turned around. The girl was bending down to pick up the plate. She seems to be Qiao Qian. That's her. She's quite pretty. What's the use of being pretty? She's so much older than Tang Jinshan. An old cow eating young grass. Qiao Qian lowered her head. Her fingers gripped the plate so tightly that they turned white. The surrounding discussions caused Qiao Qian's face to heat up. Ever since the people at school found out that Tang Jinshan was pursuing her, they'd been harping on her age, refusing to let go. It was as if she had committed some heinous crime at her age. Just as Qiao Qian was at a loss, someone suddenly appeared behind her and pulled her out. The surrounding gazes immediately became subtle. Qiao Qian didn't even need to look to know who this person was. She abruptly pushed Tang Jinshan away. Junior Tang, men and women shouldn't touch each other. Qiao Qian retreated a few steps, maintaining her distance from Tang Jinshan. Tang Jinshan had also been irritated by Qiao Qian's attitude over the past few days. For some reason, he felt a little impulsive and went up to grab Qiao Qian and kiss her. Wow! A loud commotion broke out in the canteen. Pa! The space quieted down in an instant. Tang Jinshan covered his face, his eyes filled with disbelief. Qiao Qian's face paled as she retreated. In the end, she simply turned around and ran. Tang Jinshan chased after him with a gloomy expression. Shisheng had already left the canteen while they were kissing. Qiao Qian ran out with her head lowered. She didn't know what she was stepping on, but she suddenly slipped and fell toward Shisheng. Shisheng was about to go down the steps when Qiao Qian suddenly slipped and slammed into Shisheng. Because there were so many people going in and out of the canteen, Shisheng didn't notice. When he heard the noise, he turned his head and saw Qiao Qian pouncing towards him. Shisheng could have dodged, but the person next to him was probably afraid he'd be hit, for he suddenly dashed forward and blocked Shisheng's path. Qiao Qian unquestionably slammed into Shisheng. Shisheng lost his balance and fell down. Ah! The surrounding people screamed. Some people reached out to grab Shisheng, but they didn't manage to do so. There were steps below. There were at least 20 steps. If he fell down, he'd be crippled for a few days. As Shisheng fell down, he only had one thought in his mind. I knew Plot Sama was up to something. It's always this kind of plot. I can't take it anymore. Can't you come up with something new? Just as she was about to make a cool pose, she suddenly felt something tighten around her waist. She was supported by someone from behind. Shisheng. Shisheng looked up. It was an average-looking guy. Sure enough, the novels were all lies. What do you mean you'll meet a handsome guy when you fall down? But when Shisheng looked in Qiao Qian's direction, he saw her in the arms of a handsome guy. Sure enough, she wasn't destined to be the female lead. Thank you. Shisheng steadied himself and thanked the guy. The guy smiled bashfully. It was nothing. You're welcome. Be careful next time. The guy probably had something to do, for he didn't linger and turned to leave. The crowd above seemed to have exploded. The girls' low screams made Shisheng feel like he'd arrived at a scene where fans were chasing their idols. Shisheng looked up at the guy who was still hugging the female lead. Perhaps because she was standing below. The guy's figure looked very tall and straight. The bright sunlight shone on him, making him look like he was covered in a layer of golden light. What a Prince Charming that fell from the sky. Wait, why does this Prince Charming look a little familiar? Right. That nitpicky professor. Perhaps because he sensed Shisheng's unfriendly gaze, the nitpicky professor suddenly turned his head, his cold gaze colliding with Shisheng's. He let go of Qiao Qian and strode over to Shisheng. Shisheng, on the other hand, ran up. Just as the two were about to collide, Shisheng nimbly turned and leaped to the top, causing the nitpicky professor's outstretched hand to grab empty air. Qingge. Shisheng didn't notice Qin Ji's attempt to grab him. He had already scurried over to Qiao Qian, who was still in shock. Jiejie. Shisheng called out with a fake smile. Xiaotu. Qiao Qian's eyes flashed. She asked in a somewhat distant tone. Are you all right? Did you hurt yourself? Shouldn't you be apologizing to me right now? Shisheng raised his brows. Qiao Qian pursed her lips and looked around. Qiao Qian had low self-esteem and cared a lot about her face. Since the person she'd bumped into was her own little sister, Qiao Qian wanted to turn a big problem into a small one, and a small one into nothing. But looking at the woman's posture now, it was definitely impossible. Her lips quivered. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you clearly. Shisheng acted like a vicious female supporting character, making things difficult for Qiao Qian. He had already given her such an identity. If she didn't do it, she would be letting the author down. She was even more apologetic to Plot Kuan, who wanted to kill her. Xiaoqiu. Qiao Qian only wanted to leave as soon as possible. More and more people were gathering around them. Tang Jinchen pushed through the crowd and came over, domineeringly pulling Qiao Qian into his arms. His sharp gaze swept toward Shisheng. Qian has already apologized to you. Don't be unreasonable. Shisheng glanced at him and suddenly reached out to grab him. Her actions were sudden and her strength wasn't weak. Tang Jinchen stumbled from being pulled and retreated a few steps down the stairs. If it weren't for the fact that there were many people there, he would have fallen. I'm sorry. Shisheng apologized before Tang Jinchen could lose his temper. Please vote. Chapter 418. The surrounding people were silent. This girl. You even dare to push Tang Jinchen. Why don't you ascend to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun? Tang Jinchen had probably never been treated like this before. The anger in his heart rose. Do you know what kind of crime you're committing? Intentional injury? Shisheng answered calmly. It's good that you know. Tang Jinchen walked up the stairs and looked down at Shisheng with an insufferably arrogant attitude. Great, you want to sue me? When you're hiring a lawyer, help me call one over. I want to sue her for intentional injury. Shisheng pointed at Qiao Qian. Tang Jinchen frowned. Qian didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. Shisheng smiled. Tang Jinchen. With so many people watching, you actually said that you didn't do it on purpose. Did he think they were blind? Sorry, Xiaoqiu. Qiao Qian suddenly apologized loudly. Before Shisheng could react, she lowered her head and ran down the stairs quickly. There was a saying. When you're down on your luck, you can even stuff your teeth with cold water. Qiao Qian fell again. She also happened to fall into the arms of Qingge, who had been standing below. Qian. Tang Jinchen went down nervously. Are you okay? I'm fine. Qiao Qian was a little dazed from the fall. Qingge helped her steady herself and took a step back, keeping a distance from her. Thank you. Qiao Qian thanked Qingge. She hadn't gotten a good look at this man's appearance earlier, but now that she did, she was stunned. No need. Qin Ji's tone was cold. He turned his head and looked up. The girl who had been standing there just now had disappeared. Seeing the other party's cold attitude, Qiao Qian didn't continue speaking. Instead, she looked towards where she had fallen. The stairs were very clean. She felt that she had tripped over something. There were a few girls standing there. If they stretched out their legs, they would trip her. After the cafeteria incident, the school began to spread rumors that Qiao Qian had not only hooked up with Tang Jinchen, but also had designs on Professor Qingge. Qiao Qian became famous in the school in the shortest amount of time. At the same time, the ferocious girl in the cafeteria was also exposed. Qiao Qian's younger sister. No one knew who leaked the news of the two sisters being on bad terms, but it also successfully explained the incident in the cafeteria. Some people said that she did that to attract Tang Jinchen's attention, but they couldn't help but admire her. This newly unlocked posture was very strong. These people were enjoying the show, but the Shisheng was miserable. Mother Qiao heard about this matter from someone, and immediately scolded Shisheng. She even cut off Qiao Lian's funds. The original owner wasn't a thrifty person. There wasn't much money in the card. It could only support her living expenses for a month. Her money-making skills needed startup capital. It would be *T if he didn't have the startup capital. Who should I look for to get some sponsorship? Before she could figure out where to go, Chenxi's call came in. Chu, you didn't come to class again? Aren't you taking professional courses now? Today, Professor Qin's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. You are definitely the first person who dares to skip Professor Qin's class. Now, as long as it was Qin Ji's class, no one dared to skip. Those who were caught would die a horrible death. The only legendary person was the one who never came to class, and was never caught Sheng after changing his major. There will always be a first to eat crabs. I'm helping you test the poison. As the saying goes, if I don't go to hell, who will? Sheng spouted some nonsense. Chu, don't be so chinibu. Last time, she talked about the unparalleled heroes and colorful auspicious clouds. Now she was talking about such awesome principles. You're just skipping class, that's all. Oh right, I have a project with my senior recently. We need to get sponsorship. Come with me. Sheng snorted. That's your real purpose for calling, right? Don't we need a beauty to hold the fort? Chenxi tried to curry favor. You don't know, but for these beasts nowadays, a few words from a beauty is more effective than a few hours of talking from us. So you want to sell your friend for glory? Okay, Chu, help me. Reality proved that Chenxi was right. They talked for a long time, but the other party didn't have any intention of sponsoring them. They even ignored them. But as soon as Sheng opened his mouth, the other party was immediately interested. But unfortunately, it wasn't because of her beauty. This junior is also from the computer science department? Why is she so familiar with our project? The senior who came with Chenxi was dumbfounded. She's the truant that Professor Qin keeps thinking about every day. Chenxi replied in a low voice. She had asked him for some information on the way here, and casually flipped through it. In the end, he didn't seem to understand what she said at all. But the main idea was still there. They weren't working on the same project, right? Miss Qiao, our chairman said that we should help university students like you who are brave enough to innovate. We'll send someone to negotiate the contract with you. If you have any requests, you can raise them. If the company thinks it's reasonable, we'll consider it first. After that person left, Sheng turned to Chenxi and made an okay gesture. Chenxi silently gave him a thumbs up. If he had been the one to negotiate, he definitely wouldn't have succeeded. Sheng's eyebrows curved. The funds are around 2 million. I want to take 1 million. Huh? 2 million? Chenxi was completely dumbfounded. Just now he was so focused on Sheng and the other party that he didn't pay attention to the number she mentioned. 2 million was an astronomical figure for a team of university students. How did she manage to negotiate? Was the boss of this company retarded? Or was she stupid and rich? They had estimated that the funds would be around 300,000 to 500,000. In the end, she told them that she had 2 million. Sheng said that the 1 million was only a temporary loan, and would be returned to them soon. She didn't say what she wanted to do with the 1 million, but she was the one who negotiated the sponsorship. Without her, they probably wouldn't have gotten a single cent. Since she wanted to return it, they couldn't refuse. There was still a risk to be taken. After the team discussed it, they decided to agree. Once the funds were in place, Sheng took 1 million. Half a month later, the 1 million was returned. Everyone was dumbfounded. You took 1 million just to take a look? When Chenxi went to withdraw the money, he found that there was more than 200,000 in it. Did any of you deposit money in here? Chenxi took the card and asked the team. No, I'm so poor that I'm about to eat dirt. A senior replied while chewing on a steamed bun. The senior who went to negotiate with Chenxi glanced at the card and said, "Isn't that the card that little Chu returned?" Of course, Chenxi knew that this card was returned by his brother, who had been appearing and disappearing like a ghost recently. But there was almost 200,000 more in it. Not 20 yuan. There's an extra 200,000 in here. How much? The entire team looked at Chenxi in unison. Chenxi stretched out 2 fingers. Did little Chu forget to take it out? 200,000 isn't a small amount. Maybe she forgot to take it out. Chunshi, give her a call and ask. Chunshi took out his phone and called Shisheng. Asterisk the above is purely fictional. Please don't take it seriously. Chapter 419. The sound of a phone ringing came from outside, and then a figure walked in. Wasn't that the main character they were looking for? Why are you calling me? Shisheng turned off the phone. Are you done with your work for today? Chu, why is there an extra 200,000 in your card? Chunshi asked directly. Interest, Shisheng answered matter-of-factly. Thank you for sponsoring me. 200,000. Interest. Everyone was stunned by these few words. 1 million for half a month, and there was a fifth of interest? Was his family a bank? Chunshi swallowed with difficulty. Chu, are you the abandoned daughter of some rich man? Chunshi knew the situation of the original owner's family. Although they had some money, it was impossible for them to take out 200,000 as interest. Shisheng said with a straight face, I'm a first-generation rich man. Everyone. There was no credibility at all. Chunshi was worried that Shisheng would do something bad, so he pulled her to the room they usually used for meetings. Chu, what have you been doing recently? She didn't attend classes, and sometimes she wouldn't answer his calls. He couldn't even find her. Making money. Shisheng pulled out a chair and sat down. What kind of money? Chunshi frowned. Don't do anything bad. Chu, tell me honestly, where did you get the money? It fell from the sky. Chu. Chunshi couldn't help but raise his voice. It wasn't 20,000, it was 200,000. Shisheng spread his hands helplessly. Don't worry, I didn't do anything bad. It's not dirty money. Even if I did, I wouldn't implicate you. You really didn't do anything bad? Chunshi obviously didn't believe her. What could she do to make so much money in such a short time? No. The money she made was all legal. Shisheng came to deliver the things Chunshi had asked her to buy. Chunshi interrogated her for a while. And when she came out, it was already 2 hours later. As soon as she came out, she ran into someone Shisheng didn't want to see. Qingge, the nitpicky professor. Qingge was on the phone. When he saw her, he immediately hung up and walked towards her. Student Xiaochu. Shisheng wanted to run away, but Qingge moved sideways and easily blocked her way. Professor Qin. Shisheng took a deep breath. I didn't change my major willingly. Can you please let me go? You are now my student. Qingge coldly stated the truth. It's up to me whether I want to go to class or not. Becoming your student was a complete accident. I didn't want this to happen either. Qingge glanced at Shisheng. It will affect the attendance rate. Out, asterisk flips table asterisk what does I's attendance have to do with you? Your family lives by the sea? Learning from the other professors, it was none of his business whether the students went to class or not. After all, they were not the ones who failed the exam. There's a villa. Qingge nodded. I stay there occasionally. Shisheng. Well, I don't want to talk to this nitpicky professor. You blocked my number? Qingge asked with a frown. Who told you to harass me? Every time it was his class, he would call her to harass her. If she didn't block him, where would he go? Qingge. Other girls couldn't even get his number, but she dared to block him. Qingge didn't know why, but he felt inexplicably unhappy. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the phone in her hand and snatched it. F***CK. What are you doing? Shisheng wanted to snatch the phone back, but Shisheng and Qingji's height difference made it impossible for Shisheng. F***CK. This nitpicky professor is awesome. Where's I's sword? The sword is upgrading. Qingge pressed a few buttons and quickly returned the phone to her. Don't block my number. Come to class tomorrow. Shisheng took the phone, locked it with a fingerprint lock, opened the address book, and blocked the number in front of Qingge. Qingge. Whoever likes it can use it. I'm not going. Goodbye, Professor Qin. When the two of them were fighting for the phone, Qingge had already given up some space, so Shisheng easily passed by. After taking 2 steps, Shisheng turned around again. If you dare harass me again, I'll tell the school that you're a beast in human clothing, trying to do something bad to a female student. Chingu. Chingu wanted everything to be perfect. If a student didn't come to class, he would feel uncomfortable all over. He would only feel comfortable if the student came to class. But this student was like a wild horse out of control, completely out of control. Nitpicky Professor Chin didn't believe it. Shisheng felt like he hadn't checked the almanac before leaving the house. He had just escaped from the nitpicky professor when he ran into Mother Qiao and the female lead. The female lead was carrying bags of things in her hands. She had probably gone to buy clothes. Shisheng wanted to wait for Mother Qiao to leave before going over, but Mother Qiao had sharp eyes and saw him first. Qiao Chu. When Mother Qiao saw Shisheng, it was as if she had seen a debt collector. You haven't been to class recently, have you? Look at you, how do you look like a girl? Are you trying to anger me to death? Who told you to randomly change my major? Shisheng glared back, not backing down. Didn't you say you didn't want to study painting? I changed your major. Do you have any objections? Why can't I? I'm your mom. Even if you have objections, you have to hold them in. Look at your sister. She's nothing like you, always trying to anger me to death. Shisheng. Mother Qiao changed my major without even asking for my opinion. Just who's going to be angered to death? Shisheng glanced at Qiao Qianqian. Qiao Qianqian lowered her head, pretending not to see. When Qiao Chu and Mother Qiao quarreled, Qiao Qianqian wouldn't help either of them, and would just watch as if it didn't concern her. Fine, I'm a disappointment. Just don't acknowledge me as your mother in the future. Shisheng circled around them, and left without looking back. Qiao Chu. Mother Qiao shouted from behind. Shisheng sped up and left. She didn't slow down until she reached the dormitory. When she returned to the dormitory, it was rare for her senior to be there, and she had a gossipy look on her face. Junior Xiao Chu, someone just called the dormitory looking for you. Seeing her excited gossipy look, Shisheng fell silent, and decided not to ask who it was. However, her gossipy nature wasn't so easily extinguished. Shisheng didn't ask and she continued, Professor Chingu, he personally called to look for you. She even raised her eyebrows at Shisheng. I heard you haven't been to class in a long time. Your method of attracting Professor Qinji's attention is amazing. She gave her a thumbs up. Do your best to take him down. Take him down my ass. She didn't want to see that nitpicky professor at all. Senior, why aren't you leaving? I'm going to be late. She grabbed the documents on her bed and hurriedly ran to the door. Xiao Chu, I have high hopes for you. Good luck. Shisheng. Asterisk little fairy, plead for votes. Cherub, if you want votes, beg us. Little fairy. No, I'm a little fairy with backbone. Cherub. Then forget it. I don't have any votes. Little fairy. I'm begging you. Cherub. Where's your backbone? Little fairy, crunchy chicken flavored. Chapter 420. Chingu liked to hang out with Shisheng whenever he had nothing to do. Gradually, rumors began to spread that Chingu was chasing after Shisheng. Shisheng was going crazy. She could even have a romantic encounter with this beast while having a meal. Shisheng silently glared at the beast. Professor Qin, this is the student cafeteria. Aren't you afraid of spraining your back? Chingu put down his plate and sat across from Shisheng without hesitation. When are you coming to class? Why are you so stubborn about whether I go to class or not? Don't tell me you really like me. Let me tell you, a teacher-student relationship doesn't end well. You're so old and I'm still so young. We won't have a happy sex life in the future. Chingu frowned and corrected him. I'm only 24. Shisheng. That's not the point. The point is, why are you so stubborn about me? I don't want my students to fail. Chingu gave an explanation. Shisheng. Why don't you want to go to class? He didn't want to. There was no reason. Shisheng's eyes turned. There are too many people. She didn't believe that he could chase out a classroom full of people. Reality proved that Professor Qin wouldn't chase out a classroom full of people, but he had another skill. I'll do it for you alone. Alone here, do it. Sorry, I'm a little dirty. Is this Professor Qin really okay? He's definitely coveting my beauty. Scared. Qin felt that the girl opposite him was looking at him, as if he was a pervert. Student Xiao Chu, since you. Professor Qin, why don't we have a competition? If I win, don't bother me anymore, okay? I just want to be a quiet beauty and watch the male and female leads. However, this random professor insisted that she study. Study my ass. Qin thought for a moment. Okay. If you lose, you have to go to class on time. Shisheng raised his chin and said arrogantly, Impossible. I can beat you with just a finger. Qin. This girl is really arrogant. The two set a time for the competition. It was this weekend. The location was the classroom occupied by Chen-Shi's team. On the weekend, Shisheng arrived early in the morning. Qin arrived half an hour later than Shisheng. The members of Chen-Shi's team were basically holed up in this classroom, eating, drinking, peeing, and sleeping. So basically, all of them were present. When they saw Professor Qin, these people were very excited. Professor Qin only taught second-year classes. Other than Chen-Shi, who came in through the back door, the others were all third-year and fourth-year students. They had no chance to meet this legendary gold-plated professor. Hello, Professor Qin. Hello. Qin greeted them politely. Professor Qin, have you had breakfast? Yes, I have. Professor Qin, drink some water. Professor Qin. After the passionate fans calmed down, Shisheng took his laptop and sat across from Qin. What do you want to compete in? Adhering to the fine tradition of ladies first, Qin asked Shisheng. Let's see who can crack the source code of divine fantasy in the shortest amount of time, Shisheng said as he turned on the computer. Of course, you can choose another game. Choo-choo. Chen-Shi was surprised. How could the source code be cracked so easily? Moreover, it was someone else's game. If something happened, he would have to take responsibility. Okay. Qin agreed without any hesitation. Hey, Professor, how can you mess around with her? No, Choo-choo doesn't know these things at all. Even if she does, it should only be at the beginner level. With this thought, Chen-Shi felt a lot more at ease. However, when Chen-Shi saw the rows of letters on Shisheng's computer jumping at a frightening speed, he suddenly had a bad feeling. Combining the contents of her conversation with the sponsors last time, Chen-Shi came to a realization. It seemed his brother was very familiar with computers. In the entire classroom, only the sound of two people typing on the keyboard could be heard. The game Divine Fantasy had been running for almost 5 years, and was still very popular. It was easier said than done to crack the source code of a game like this. The sun slowly rose into the sky, and then set in the west. Shisheng's speed slowed down. She switched from 2 hands to 1 hand. She also stopped typing on the keyboard and only tapped a few times occasionally. Senior, is there anything to eat? Shisheng closed the computer and turned to ask the person who had been watching them. The senior who was being asked immediately nodded and turned to get the takeout he had just ordered. After heating it up, he brought it to Shisheng. Shisheng ate the bento box while looking at Qin. Qin stared at the screen with a serious expression, his fingers still jumping quickly. Just as she ate a few mouthfuls, Qin slowed down. He glanced at Shisheng from the corner of his eyes. Seeing her calm appearance, Qin had a feeling. He had lost. You promised not to make me attend classes in the future. Shisheng told Qin to delete the things on her computer after he finished looking at it. Qin also deleted the traces on the computer and stood up silently. When he reached the door, he said, I admit defeat. Take care, Professor Qin. Shisheng waved a small handkerchief she had pulled out of nowhere. Qin Ji's figure quickly disappeared through the door. He looked into the distance of the school and felt a little uncomfortable. It seemed there was no reason to see her again. Qin felt that something was wrong with him. His thoughts were a little out of his control. This had never happened before. Xiao Chu, he muttered this name a few times. It was unfamiliar. But every time he met her eyes, he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. After Qin left, Shisheng didn't have time to rejoice when the system's voice suddenly rang out. Hidden mission, every week. Shisheng. Hidden mission equals Feng Xi. Calm down. Calm down. Shirsheng waited for the system's follow-up. About 30 seconds later, the system's voice rang out. Target, Qingge. Mission, literal meaning. Please understand on your own. Qingge has the same name? So the person she offended just now was the target of this mission? And it could be her Feng Ci? Calm down. Calm down. Calm down my ass. I, your father, have just offended him. System, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Where's I's sword? The sword was still leveling up. Choo-choo, why do you look so pale? Chun-Shi touched her forehead with concern. Are you tired? I'll take you back to the dorm. Shirsheng walked out with a hopeless expression. Chun-Shi shook his head, took her things and chased after her. Even when Shirsheng arrived at the dorm, Shirsheng still had a hopeless expression. Choo-choo. Chun-Shi handed the things to Shirsheng. Hurry up and go to sleep. Chun-Shi really wanted to ask her when she learned those skills, but when he thought about how tired she was today, he could only suppress the urge and give her a few words of concern. Thank you. You can go back. Shirsheng carried the things and slowly went upstairs. Right now, she just wanted to hack the system to vent. Fuck, why didn't it give her a mission when she met Qingge? Qingge wasn't in the storyline, nor was he in the original owner's memories. Such a famous person. Even if he wasn't in the storyline, he should still be in the original owner's memories. But since he wasn't in either side, then he must have been erased by the system. How could she forget this? She miscalculated. The system dared to play her like this. Shirsheng went back to the dorm and began to cultivate. Class. Don't mess around. She didn't want to lose face. Asterisk, the above content is purely fantasy. Please don't take it seriously. Hashtag thank you to the cherub who tipped me. Hashtag. Chapter 421. As expected, Qingge didn't harass her after that. Shirsheng didn't have time to harass him either. She had to hurry up and cultivate. It wasn't until the winter break and the final exams came that Shirsheng finally showed up. These exams were easy for Shirsheng. After the exams, Shirsheng prepared to pack up and head to the mountains. The spiritual energy in the mountains was better. She had to hurry up and cultivate, then come back to flirt with her man. After stuffing everything into her storage space, Shirsheng walked out of the school gates in a relaxed manner. It was the peak period of the holidays. Outside the school gates, parents came to pick up their students. All sorts of cars were parked chaotically. Shirsheng immediately spotted Qingge, who stood out like a crane among chickens. He and Xiao Qian were standing together, talking about something. Shirsheng. WTF. What's going on? FL-sama. Put down the villain and let me do it. Shirsheng rushed out a few steps, then abruptly stopped. Wouldn't I lose face if I went over now? No, even if he could be Feng Ci, I can't lose face. Besides, I'm in no position to go over. Shirsheng stood inside the school gates, watching Xiao Qian and Qingge standing outside. Soon, she saw Tang Jinchen stop a flashy car in front of Xiao Qian. Seeing the two standing so close to each other, Tang Jinchen's expression darkened. Xiao Qian said something to Tang Jinchen, but he drove off in a flustered and exasperated manner. Xiao Qian retreated a bit after Tang Jinchen left. Qingge turned around and walked back to school. His gaze swept over Shirsheng, causing him to pause. Shirsheng blinked. He still hadn't decided whether he should greet him or not. Qingge had already left as if nothing had happened. Shirsheng. It's over, it's over. That night, Shirsheng took a cab to a remote town. Shirsheng looked it up online. The people here lived especially long lives, and the girls were beautiful and the young men were handsome. Places that raised people usually had dense spiritual energy. The town was built halfway up a mountain. From the foot of the mountain to the top, it was a winding road. It was as if the car would fall off the cliff if the driver panicked. As soon as he got out of the car, Shirsheng felt the spiritual aura rushing at him. Staying here for a few months should be enough for her to confirm whether Qingge was Feng Ci or not. The town was far away from the city, and the scenery was beautiful. Many people came here for sightseeing, and the town also developed a tourism industry. Shirsheng rented a house in the town. Shirsheng spent most of his time on the mountain. He went down the mountain occasionally, but it was always at night, so he rarely met anyone. It was easy to snow on the mountain, but Shisheng found that when it snowed, the reiki was thicker, so she stayed on the mountain for a long time. Shisheng didn't return to school until a month after school started. If Shisheng hadn't left a letter for Chunshi before he left, Chunshi would probably have called the police to look for her, a missing person. As for the Qiao family, Shisheng had made up an excuse to deceive Father Qiao, but Mother Qiao did not do anything. She probably did not want to see her rebellious daughter. Some biological mothers were even scarier than stepmothers when they were ruthless. Qin Ge would take attendance every day in class, but every time he called Xiao Chu, no one answered. He heard that Xiao Chu hadn't come to register yet. Qin Ge felt a little strange. He couldn't tell what it was, but it was strange. He always felt that his thoughts were out of control. Zhao Jin. Here. Lu Pan. Here. Xiao Chu. Zhou Wu. Qin Ge didn't stop, and had already started to call the next name. However, two voices answered at the same time. He frowned. Those who answered, stand up. The student named Zhou Wu was very innocent. He didn't let anyone answer for him. Shisheng sat slightly behind, and Chunshi sat next to her, trying hard to hold back his laughter. Now that the professor knew that this guy wouldn't come to class, he would just call out the names during attendance. However, she suddenly came. Shisheng kicked Chunshi under the table and stood up. Professor Qin, I didn't answer for anyone. Qin Ge suspected that he had seen wrong. This person who skipped classes all year round actually came to class? Who's this girl? Why haven't I seen her before? Who else could it be? Xiao Chu, the only one who dares to skip Professor Qin's class. I worship this awesome person. They had personally experienced how scary Qin Ge was. He would overturn the slightest mistake and start all over again. He was simply a late-stage Virgo patient. Sit down. Qin Ge continued to take attendance with the roll call, and then the class began. His gaze occasionally swept over Shisheng. Shisheng spent most of his time with his head down playing with his phone. He didn't even bring a book, let alone listen to his lecture. She actually dared to not hand in her phone. Shisheng felt that class was really a torture. Time seemed to be held down by someone, and he didn't move at all. When the class finally ended, a group of people rushed out of the classroom as soon as Qin Ge said class was over, as if they were afraid that Qin Ge would call them back. Chu, let's go. Chunshi packed up his things and called Shisheng, who was still sitting in his seat. You go first. I have something to do. Chunshi asked curiously, what is it? It was a miracle that she came to class today. He didn't have time to ask why. I'll tell you later. You go first. Chunshi, hurry up. Someone outside the classroom called Chunshi. Okay then. Remember to go eat. I'll go first. The classroom quickly emptied out, and Qin Ge leisurely packed up his things. Shisheng stood up and walked down the stairs. Qin Ge finished packing and was blocked by Shisheng. She asked with a smile, Professor Qin, do you have time? No. Qin Ge walked around her. Shisheng. I knew it. Feng Xiai, that damned Sundra. I tortured him so much last time. He definitely won't be nice to me. Shisheng chased after him. Professor Qin, didn't you say that you wanted to give me a private class last semester? I thought about it and think it's okay. What do you think? Qin Ji's expression changed as he replied, I don't need your grades. Her grades last semester were barely above the line. He went to look at her answer sheet. She didn't fill in a lot of the questions, and the programming paper at the end was as simple as possible. She didn't do anything complicated. So he let her fail her class. You don't have to come to my class. I have nothing to teach you. Qin Ge threw down these words and strode away, quickly disappearing from Shisheng's sight. Shisheng, this is what they mean by not cherishing something when it's yours, but wanting it when it's not. People are all despicable. Pretentious Sheng evolved into despicable Sheng. Pretentious Sheng became even more King awesome. Shisheng secretly thought about how to get her beast, Tui, Professor Qin back. Xiao Chu. Shisheng looked up. Xiao Qian was standing not too far away from her. She walked over in a few steps, and her expression and tone were a little distant. Where have you been recently? Mom's worried about you. Go home and take a look. Qiao Qian was just passing on a message, so she didn't have any intention of staying. I still have things to do. I'll be leaving first. Would Qiaomu be worried about her? Maybe, maybe not. Don't doubt it. There really are those kinds of mothers who treat their own daughters as enemies. If you love me, please vote. My votes have decreased a lot recently. Heartache. Don't you love me anymore? Chapter 422. Shisheng took the time to go home. But Mother Qiao scolded her the moment she saw her. Father Qiao wasn't around, so Shisheng turned to leave. She didn't come back to be scolded. Mother Qiao grabbed her and refused to let go. Qiao Chu, where have you been fooling around for the past 2 months? You're not even home. Do you have any shame as a girl? I didn't give you any money, so whose money did you spend? Did you learn from those little vixens to seduce men outside? Shisheng stood at the door speechless. Was this something a mother should say? She hadn't even said a word when she came back, but she had already started to fill in all the details in her head. She was even slandering her own daughter. She was drunk. Qiao Chu was the one who had been adopted, right? Let go of me. If you don't explain yourself today, I won't let you leave. What have you been doing outside? Mother Qiao questioned sternly. Shisheng took a deep breath. I'm not being kept as a mistress. I didn't do anything shameful. Are you happy now? Where did you get the money? Mother Qiao wouldn't let it go. I earned it myself. Earned it yourself. Mother Qiao's face was full of doubt. Do you think I don't know what you're capable of? Where did you get the money? Shisheng. If this was in ancient times, I would have drawn my sword and killed you. Where was I's sword? It was still upgrading. Shisheng pulled her hand out in frustration and rushed out of the house. Qiao Chu. Mother Qiao's exasperated voice came from behind. After leaving the house, Shisheng walked down the street alone. She really didn't understand why Mother Qiao didn't like the original owner so much. She couldn't see any warmth from Mother Qiao. No matter what their daughter had done, any parent would be worried about whether she was doing well or not after leaving home for 2 months without any news. She wasn't like Mother Qiao, who showered her with questions and scoldings. Unable to figure it out, Shisheng quickly threw the question to the back of her mind. Before returning to school, Shisheng found a random place to eat. There were many good restaurants near the school. The one Shisheng chose was a high-end one. The environment was beautiful and quiet, and the food was famous for being delicious. She sat alone by the window. Halfway through her meal, she suddenly heard a familiar voice behind her. Shisheng turned around and looked through a row of green plants. He could vaguely see the person sitting behind. Tang Jinchen and Qiao Qianqian. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Junior Tang, it's really impossible between us. Why? Tang Jinchen seemed a little agitated. Don't talk to me about age, I don't believe in that. In any case, it's impossible. Qiao Qianqian's tone was resolute. Junior Tang, please don't harass me again. Qiao Qianqian. There was the sound of bowls and chopsticks colliding. Shisheng turned his head to look. Tang Jinchen grabbed Qiao Qianqian's hand and placed his other hand behind her neck, pulling her in front of him. With a table between them, they kissed in a very difficult position. Their position was in a blind spot. As long as no one came over, no one would be able to see what they were doing. However, if the commotion was too big, it would attract the attention of others. So Qiao Qianqian didn't dare to make any large movements. Tang Jinchen's back was facing Shisheng, so Shisheng couldn't see his expression. He only saw Tang Jinchen abruptly release Qiao Qianqian. Qiao Qianqian frantically wiped her mouth. Tang Jinchen, are you crazy? I'm 4 years older than you. It's impossible between us. I don't care. I care. Qiao Qianqian sounded like she was about to cry. I care, okay? Qianqian. Qiao Qianqian took a deep breath. I told you I have someone I like. Tang Jinchen, you'll meet someone better. Stop bothering me and let me live. Tang Jinchen seemed to be enraged. He growled. How am I inferior to him? Nowhere, Qiao Qianqian said, emphasizing each word. Qinggu over here. Qiao Qianqian suddenly called out. Shisheng tightened his grip on his spoon and looked in the direction of the door. Qingge was coming in through the door. Hearing Qiao Qianqian's voice, he lifted his head slightly and frowned. His gaze swept over to Shisheng next door, and his frown deepened. Shisheng looked at him expressionlessly. For some reason, Qingge felt a little guilty. So guilty that it was baffling. What am I guilty about? I'm not guilty. I'm not even close to her. After reassuring himself, Qingge walked straight towards Qiao Qianqian. When he passed by Shisheng, his gaze swept over her. But she had her head lowered, scooping up desserts from an exquisite plate, and shoving them into her mouth. She didn't look at him. Only when he passed by did Shisheng abruptly put down his spoon. The spoon collided with the table, producing a crisp sound. Qingge's body trembled. He wanted to immediately turn around and leave. But Qiao Qianqian had already gotten up and walked over to him. Junior Tang, my boyfriend is here to pick me up. Thank you for your hospitality. Qiao Qianqian. Tang Jinshan's eyes reddened. Qiao Qianqian smiled at him, then walked out with Qingge. Let's go. Did you finish class late today? Qingge nodded. On the way back, he intentionally glanced at Shisheng. But there was no one there. He didn't notice when she left. Qingge suddenly felt a little irritated. But when he walked out of the restaurant, he saw a girl standing outside. She was on the phone, her expression somewhat languid. He didn't know what she was saying, but her lips actually twitched into a smile. Qiao Qianqian was in a hurry to leave, so she didn't notice Shisheng. Qingge drove over. When they got in the car, he subconsciously looked in the rearview mirror. She'd already hung up, and was looking in his direction. Qingge felt even more guilty. This emotion came out of nowhere and surged violently. It was as if he'd done something wrong to her. But he wasn't even close to her. He hurriedly started the car. Her figure slowly grew smaller in the rearview mirror before finally disappearing. But Qingge didn't feel relaxed at all. He felt like he might have been possessed. Shisheng put the phone back to his ear. I'll go back to school in a bit. I'm not your babysitter. Since you praised me, fine. Shisheng hung up, then turned around and entered the restaurant again. She ordered a few dishes and had them pack up. While waiting for the food to be packed, Tang Jinshan walked past her with a dark expression. After taking a few steps, he turned back. Qiaochu. Shisheng. What are you doing? I didn't do anything to you. Tang Jinshan then said. Be my girlfriend. His tone was extremely domineering, as if he was notifying Shisheng instead of asking for his opinion. Shisheng. Did the female lead provoke you so much that you went crazy? Miss, your food is packed. The waiter brought over the packed food. Shisheng took it and smiled at Tang Jinshan. Not interested. You're rejecting me? Tang Jinshan's face was full of disbelief. You can treat it as me trying to get your attention. Tang Jinshan. Asterisk little fairy, little vixen, you've already gotten my attention. Come vote, or else we'll have sex. Chapter 423. Tang Jinshan chased after Shisheng. You don't like me? You didn't activate the everyone loves me buff, so why should everyone like you? Tang Jinshan felt a bit uncomfortable being stared at like Shisheng was looking at an idiot. What's your relationship with Qiao Qianqian? Tang Jinshan changed the topic. At that time, he'd heard her call Qiao Qian Qianjiejie, and both of them had the surname Qiao. Aren't you the son of the school's chairman? Shisheng looked at him strangely. Something like this can be easily found out with a simple order. Tang Jinshan once again felt Shisheng's disdain. You're sisters with Qiao Qianqian, right? Is she really dating Qingge? Tang Jinshan didn't know if it was his imagination, but he suddenly felt like there was something wrong with the girl in front of him. Shisheng flagged down a cab and got in. Only then did he roll down the window and say to Tang Jinshan, if they're really dating, I'll kill them. Of course, the premise was that Qingge was Feng Ci. Tang Jinshan stared blankly at the car that had already driven off. Shisheng delivered the takeout to Chenxi and the others. Compared to last semester, this place was even messier. Junior, you're so nice. This is actually my signature dish. Mai was the abbreviation for that restaurant. It was said to be the translation of meeting you. Follow Junior, and you'll have meat to eat. Junior, help us take a look at this program. A senior pushed a laptop to Shisheng. Shisheng had some impression of him. He had the same surname as Chen Shi, and was called Chen Xiao. He was already in his 4th year, and was about to graduate. He'd originally wanted to look for a job, but this project was holding him back. Hey, that's enough. Choo-Choo isn't here to work for you guys. Chen Shi naturally sided with Shisheng. Chen Xiao laughed mischievously, then winked at Chen Shi. Io, use your resources wisely. Junior is so amazing. Even Professor Qin admitted defeat. Shisheng didn't say anything. He took the laptop and helped them take a look. When they finished eating, he also put down the laptop. There aren't any major problems. I've already noted down the areas that are problematic. You guys can fix it yourselves. Shisheng pointed at the paper on the table. Thank you, Junior. A group of people rushed to the computer noisily. Chen Shi walked over to the Shisheng and said, Let's go, I'll send you back. We'll leave these animals behind after we've finished using them. Hey, young Master Chen, who are we doing this for? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. A certain senior took the time to raise his head and refute Chen Shi. The corner of Chen Shi's mouth twitched. How many times had he told them that he completely regarded Xiao Chu as a good brother? Chen Shi sent Shisheng downstairs. Originally, he wanted to send Shisheng back to the dormitory, but Shisheng refused. She still had something to do in a while. After being sent back to the dormitory, she still had to walk back. Nanshan International. In a high-end residential area, the houses here were once priced at sky-high prices. Later on, the housing market was in a downturn and the prices dropped. However, the housing prices were still not affordable for the average person. The security guard was standing at the door. When he saw a figure coming over, he immediately stood up straight. When the security guard saw who it was, he smiled and greeted, Mr. Qin, you're back. Such a handsome man would definitely leave a deep impression on her. She also heard that he was a professor at University A. Qin nodded slightly and swiped his card to enter. Mr. Qin, the security guard called out. The security guard took a few steps toward him. There was a lady looking for you just now. You weren't here, so we didn't dare to let her in. Did she say what her name was? Not many people knew that he lived here. No. The security guard shook his head. I saw her go that way. The security guard pointed to a coffee shop across the street. Qin didn't want to pay attention to it, but for some reason he turned and walked toward the coffee shop. At this time, there weren't many people in the coffee shop. Qin Ji's gaze swept across the place. When his gaze landed on someone, his gaze paused. The other party seemed to have seen him too and waved at him. Qin hesitated for a moment before going over. His expression was colder than before. Why are you here? To see if you're doing well, the other party replied. I'm doing well. Being a teacher in school? Is that considered doing well? The woman with exquisite hairstyle sneered disdainfully. Then she looked at Qin with some affection. Qin, come back. As long as you marry me, everything I have will be yours. I don't need those. Qin, don't look for me in the future. Qin stood up with an indifferent expression. I'll pay back what I owe you. Qin, what are you going to pay back with? The woman chased after Qin unwillingly. The two of them were in the aisle of the coffee shop and immediately attracted the attention of a few customers. The woman was probably well educated. Being stared at, she was a little embarrassed. She grabbed Qin Ji's arm with a little force. Qin, stop fooling around. Come back with me. Qin pried the woman's hand away. He looked at her and said slowly, You're the one who's fooling around. I have nothing to do with your family anymore. The woman watched Qin leave the coffee shop. She gritted her teeth and chased after him. She yelled at his back, Qin, you'll regret this. Qin paused. Then he crossed the road without hesitation and entered the neighborhood. He went upstairs and opened the door. He slammed the door. The sound was so loud that the windows on the side trembled. The room was very dark, but Qin walked to the bedroom without any hindrance. Just as he put his hand on the bedroom door handle, he paused and turned to look at the living room. His eyes adjusted to the light. It was no longer completely dark. He could see someone sitting on the sofa in the living room. Someone was there. There was a light switch in the living room next to the bedroom. He pressed it. The dark living room was immediately filled with soft light. Qingge and the person on the sofa looked at each other without any hindrance. Space froze for a moment. Xiaochu. Professor Qin, I've been waiting for you for 3 hours and 46 minutes. Shisheng looked at his phone and read the time. Sorry. Qingge instinctively apologized. Then he realized what he was apologizing for. Why was he apologizing to her? This was his house. Qingji's face darkened. How did you get in? His door had a fingerprint lock. If someone deliberately broke it, it would automatically call the police. But thinking of her ability, it didn't seem difficult for her to break in. However, Shisheng pointed to the open balcony of his house. Through the window. Qingge. His house was on the 18th floor. She dared to come in through the window? Shisheng really did come in through the window, but he came down from the roof. This building had a total of 20 floors, and the roof was very close to the 18th floor. It took some effort for her to come in. If it weren't for the fact that her iron sword was still being upgraded, it wouldn't have been so troublesome. Qingge took a deep breath and glanced at Shisheng. Xiaochu, do you know that it's illegal to trespass into someone's house? Shisheng said with a straight face. No. I'm not a law student. Qingge walked toward Shisheng. Do you know now? Yes. Qingge put his hands on the sofa and leaned forward slightly. Then does Xiaochu know the danger of trespassing into a man's apartment? Chapter 424. What danger? One night stand? Or is it love that grows with time? Love that grows with time. Was it love that grows with time as he thought? Qingge had originally wanted to scare Shisheng, but he didn't expect her to give him such a shameless reply. How could a girl like her have the nerve to do that? Qingge stared at her for a few seconds. Why are you looking for me? Shisheng inched closer to Qingge and reached out her hand with a smile. Professor Qin. Qingge frowned at her outstretched hand. What are you doing? Shaking hands, of course. Shisheng said matter-of-factly. Qingge. So she broke into his house in the middle of the night just to shake his hand. I'll leave after shaking your hand, Shisheng added. The girl's face glowed softly under the soft light. His pitch-black pupils were dotted with tiny bits of light. The light spots seemed to be fixed in his eyes, without the slightest ripple. Qingge slowly reached out his hand. Her hand was very small and had a bit of baby fat, so it felt soft to the touch. Shisheng quickly sent her spiritual energy into Qingji's body. Almost at the same time, Shisheng's expression changed. She couldn't send her spiritual energy in. How could this be? Wasn't it Feng Xi? Shisheng tried again, but it was the same. It was as if something was blocking her from sending her spiritual energy into his body. Qingge watched as the girl's expression darkened, and there was a hint of suspicion in his eyes. She was just shaking his hand. After failing for the third time, Shisheng pulled her hand back and hurriedly said, I'll leave first, Professor Qin. Her mind was filled with the desire to find a place to fight with the system. Qingge looked at her figure, which seemed to be fleeing, and was somewhat baffled. What on earth was she doing here? Shisheng quickly went downstairs and ran out of the neighborhood. Because of the security guard's diligence, Shisheng was delayed for a moment while the security guard called Qingge to confirm. Only then was she allowed to leave. The security guard was also confused. When did this girl go in? There were so many girls looking for Mr. Qin. Shisheng ran until she found a deserted corner. She took a deep breath. System, come out. Let's talk. Host, I think we have something to talk about. It didn't want to come out either, but the thought of its host getting angry was terrifying. Nothing to talk about? What's wrong with Qingge? That's how it is. That's it. Damn it, what's wrong with his body? If you can't explain yourself today, you can just wait to be sent back to the factory as scrap. The system didn't want to speak. It just wanted to be a quiet system. Why did the host want to talk about life with it? Fear. The system was having some difficulty operating, and it took a while for it to reply. Qingge doesn't have a bug. Host, you still have to rely on yourself. After the system finished speaking, it disappeared without a trace. It was now scared to death of this host. No matter how much Shishing shouted, the system remained silent. Very good, this time when we go back, I'll give you something new to play. Shishing gnashed his teeth and walked back. If there was no bug, then it was because of Qingge himself. Could it be that he had some special ability? During class, Chunshi whispered to Shisheng behind Qingji's back. Choo-choo, our project entered the 5th Interstellar Cup preliminaries. Isn't your project a robot? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Yes, the robot's programming was approved. Chunshi nodded, a little excited. Isn't it amazing? As long as we get into the top 3, this project should be taken seriously. Shisheng thought of the program he had modified for them. There were many loopholes, but with the current technology, the early stages were pretty good. While the two were discussing heatedly, the front suddenly darkened. Qingge, who had been standing on the podium just now, was standing beside Chunshi. Chunshi's expression immediately turned ugly. Professor Qin. Qingji's expression was stern as he examined Shisheng without batting an eyelid. This was the first time the two had met since that day. It was also the second time she had come to his class. Let's talk outside. Qingge stepped aside and pointed outside. Chunshi's face fell. Professor Qin, I was wrong. However, Shisheng picked up the tablet that he had somehow brought in from the table and stood up to leave. Sai Chu-chu. Chunshi looked at Qingge awkwardly, then looked at the figure that was about to leave the classroom. In the end, he gritted his teeth, rolled up the things on the table, and chased after Shisheng. Brothers should face difficulties together. Qingge finished his class with an ugly expression. The group of students in class didn't even dare to breathe loudly. In the end, they still couldn't escape misfortune and were given homework by Qingge. Qingge packed up his things and left the classroom. Professor Qin. Shisheng leaned against the door outside the classroom and waved at him. Qingge glanced at him indifferently and turned to leave. Shisheng's mouth twitched, and he hurriedly chased after him. Professor Qin, I'll treat you to a meal. Qingge coldly refused. I don't accept bribes. Shisheng retorted. What bribe? This is purely a teacher-student interaction. Qingge suddenly stopped in his tracks. Shisheng, who was walking behind him, thought that he had agreed and hurriedly walked in front of him. Professor Qin. Qingji's gaze was fixed on the sports field in the distance. Shisheng followed his gaze. Qiao Qian was standing with a woman. Shisheng. As a villain, he either had a grudge against the male lead or liked the female lead, but couldn't obtain her. So Qingge was originally set to like the female lead? Although Shisheng knew that this body setting had nothing to do with Feng Xi, he still felt a bit displeased at the thought. Where are we going to eat? Qingge suddenly asked. Shisheng was stunned. Fuyuan. Let's go. Qingge followed the steps down the stairs. After exiting the school gates, they had to pass through the sports field. The two of them approached Qiao Qian, and the woman one after the other. The woman was facing Shisheng and immediately spotted Qingge. She dropped Qiao Qian and jogged over to Qingge in her slender high heels. Qingge. Coincidentally, Tang Jinshan came over from the other side, so she could only follow Qingge. Earlier, the woman had asked her for directions, so she didn't know she was looking for Qingge. Qingge, I was wrong last time. Don't be angry. How you speak has nothing to do with me. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first. Qingge cut her off and walked around her. Qingge. The woman tugged on his arm. Do you really have to be so heartless? Because of the tugging, Qingge didn't continue forward. The commotion attracted a few people's attention. Qian. Tang Jinshan also walked over. Seeing Qingge tugging at a woman, he asked Qiao Qian with concern. Qian, are you okay? Shisheng looked at the chaotic scene in front of him, deep in thought. How interesting. Interesting my ass. Qingge, this man, is actually blossoming with peach blossoms. Shisheng didn't go forward. He wasn't sure if Qingge was Feng Xi yet, so he wasn't in a position to criticize him. If he was, then he'd remember this debt and slowly settle it with him in the future. Qingge was a bit annoyed by the woman's harassment. If you're done, go back. Don't come looking for me in the future. Asterisk peach blossoms blossom. Chapter 425. Jinge. The woman furrowed her brows. Do you really have to be so heartless? Jinge pulled her hand away, using his actions to show his determination. What's wrong with me? Why won't you like me? The woman's eyes were misty. We don't belong in the same world. Side mission, Dark Redemption. Shisheng. I'm BBB, just watching a show. Why are you giving me a mission? I still haven't settled things with you for last time. And you still dare to give me a mission? I won't accept it. The system was probably afraid that Shisheng would cause trouble, so it really didn't continue giving out missions. It was definitely the most aggrieved system in history. Qiao Qian broke free from Tang Jinchen's grip and walked to Qin Ji's side. Jinge, let's go. Who are you? The woman suddenly shrieked. Who allowed you to hold on to him? Let go. The woman pushed Qiao Qian. Qiao Qian stumbled, then fell towards Shisheng. Shisheng jumped to the side as if it had nothing to do with him, and Qiao Qian successfully fell to the ground. The ground was made of rubber, and Qiao Qian's hand was bleeding from the friction. Jinge gave Shisheng a meaningful look. Tang Jinchen was enraged. He walked over and helped Qiao Qian up. Qiao Chu, why aren't you helping Qian? Why should I help her? Shisheng crossed his arms. I'm afraid she'll crush me. Qiao Chu, she's your older sister. Shisheng's eyes curved. Respect the old and love the young. As an older sister, of course I have to protect my younger sister when I'm injured. Qiao Qian's injuries weren't serious. She broke free from Tang Jinchen. Thank you for your concern, Junior. I'm fine. You won't accept me because of her? The woman started making trouble again. Jinge looked towards Qiao Qian, then caught sight of Shisheng. The yes on the tip of his tongue somehow changed. It has nothing to do with her. What's your relationship with her? It has nothing to do with you. Jinge, I'll give you one last chance. Come with me. The woman suddenly became aggressive. Impossible. Good, very good. The woman nodded. Her well-maintained finger pointed between Jinge and Qiao Qian a few times before she left in her high heels. You're not going? Jinge looked at Shisheng. Shisheng looked at him with a half-smile. Go ahead. Seeing Jinge about to leave, Qiao Qian couldn't help but feel a bit anxious. She broke free from Tang Jinchen's entanglement and chased after Jinge. Jinge frowned. Miss Qiao, I only promised to help you once. Qiao Qian's expression froze, a pleading look in her eyes. Jinge. If she helped her again, she was really afraid that Tang Jinchen would pester her. Jinge wasn't willing. The only time he'd agreed to help Qiao Qian was during last semester's break. That time in MY. It was Qiao Qian who acted on her own. He didn't know what he was trying to probe at that time, but now, he didn't want the person behind him to misunderstand anything. Although Jinge himself felt that it was absurd. But sometimes, it might be better to be a little absurd. Qiao Qian, you're lying to me with him? Tang Jinchen could tell there was something fishy going on. He grabbed Qiao Qian's hand angrily, not allowing her to leave. Shisheng took the opportunity to follow Jinge. The two of them could faintly be heard arguing behind them. The food at Fuyuan was on the spicy side. Jinge didn't really like it, so he picked at the dishes. He didn't even touch the spicy boiled fish. Professor Qin, you're quite lucky with women. Jinge paused in his actions and pursed his lips, not saying a word. Shisheng placed a plate of fish in front of Jinge. Jinge raised his head, a probing look in his eyes. Shisheng smiled faintly. A bribe. No matter what world he was in, Feng Xi liked to eat fish. But he hated fish bones and wished they didn't have any. What do you want me to do? Jinge picked up a clean piece of fish and stuffed it into his mouth. Can I not go to class? Can you not let me fail at the end of the semester? Last semester, this idiot actually didn't let her pass. She clearly calculated her grades. It was the same whether she went to class or not. Even if she did, she'd only affect the other students. The thought of her chatting passionately with that guy called Chunxi in class made him feel comfortable. But if she didn't come to class, he wouldn't be able to see her. Qingge was a bit conflicted. He finished a plate of fish and didn't give Shisheng an answer. No. In the end, Qingge gave an answer. Shisheng glared at him and shoved the fish he'd already picked into his mouth. Qingge. Childish. Was he someone who could be bribed with a few pieces of fish? Shisheng paid the bill and left in a hurry. There was no feeling of taking a walk after dinner or holding hands in the dark night. In the following days, Shisheng went back to skipping classes every day and Qingge wouldn't let go of her. But the number of times he could catch her could be counted on one hand, unless she delivered herself to him. The male and female leads were now together, and they were in the honeymoon stage. She watched them abuse single dogs every day. Single Wang Sheng expressed that the truth was bitterness followed by sweetness. Bitterness followed by sweetness, my ass. She hadn't found the bug in Qin Ji's body yet. She looked up Qin Ji's information. The Qin family's young master. Boat King Qin family. That was what the circle called the Qin family. As the young master, Qingge didn't take over the Qin family's business, and came to a university to be a professor. And the woman who came last time was even more interesting. She was the Qin family's second daughter, Qin Ji's younger sister, Qin Xin. Taboo love. TSK. If the person she liked wasn't her man, she would definitely be a spectator. Choo, hurry up and come to the activity room. Chunxi's urgent call snapped Shisheng's scattered thoughts back to reality. What's wrong? Shisheng asked as he jumped off the edge of the rooftop and walked towards the stairs. Something happened. I can't explain it clearly over the phone. Come over first. Chunxi's tone was serious. Shisheng frowned slightly and pushed open the iron door of the rooftop. Ah! Shisheng's scalp went numb from the scream. A man and a woman were leaning against the wall. The woman was below, and the man was on top of her. Their clothes were a little messy, and it was obvious that they were doing something shameful. Fortunately, it wasn't the end. The iron door of the rooftop was soundproof. She didn't hear when they came. Or maybe it was because the wind was too strong. Shisheng's mouth twitched. I say, why don't you go get a room? Why are you looking for excitement here? Although not many people came to the rooftop, it was still considered a public area, so they should be careful. The woman's face was red. She buried her head in the man's arms and complained softly. I told you to go to a hotel, but you didn't listen. How would I know that someone would come to the rooftop for no reason? The man complained. Shisheng dug in his pocket and took out something and put it aside. Be careful. The young couple was speechless. Girl, why do you carry condoms with you? There were at least 7 or 8 of them in the bunch just now, right? Shisheng was innocent. She had just won these condoms from the lucky draw. All the lucky prizes were condoms, which was enough to show the seller's malice. However, the seller told her very seriously that condoms were also very expensive. Maybe it would save her the cost of an abortion. His words were crude, but the truth was not. Not many college students would choose to give birth to their pregnancies. Therefore, the seller said that they gave condoms after careful consideration. Chapter 426. Shisheng strolled slowly to the activity room. Chunxi had called her several times to urge her to hurry up. The atmosphere in the activity room was very tense. As soon as Shisheng entered, everyone's eyes were on her. Suspicion, anger, and doubt. All kinds of gazes fell on Shisheng. Shisheng blinked and looked at Chunxi, who was standing next to her. Chunxi immediately stepped forward, but said to the others, "Don't be like this. This matter hasn't been concluded yet. I believe in Chu's character." Chen Xiao frowned. "Chunxi, it's not up to you to believe it. The truth is right in front of us." Chunxi immediately became angry. Chu hasn't said anything yet. It's too arbitrary to make a judgment based on a surveillance camera. Let's let her say it. Someone tried to smooth things over. What are you talking about? Shisheng was dumbfounded. She had no idea what was going on. What was she supposed to say? Chunxi saw Shisheng's dumbfounded expression and told her what had happened. Their entry had been secretly sold to a company. Now the company was suing them. The competition had disqualified them, and they were facing a lawsuit and huge compensation. However, they didn't know who had sold them, and the company refused to say. They had only submitted their entry at the end. When they came back to check the surveillance camera, they found that Shisheng was the only one who had entered and left the activity room on those days. So they suspected that Shisheng had done it. Shisheng had seen the surveillance camera. It was installed outside the corridor, and on every floor of the teaching building. But there was none in the activity room. The camera only captured her entering and leaving the activity room on those days. Why do you only suspect me? Shisheng raised her eyebrows and looked at them. There are so many people in the activity room. It could be anyone. I believe them, Chen Xiao chimed in. Shisheng blinked. She was an outsider. It was normal for people to believe in her team. But why would I sell your entry? That stupid program was full of loopholes. She didn't know which idiot had taken a liking to it. Why else? For money. Now that she thought about the 200,000 she had brought, she felt that something was wrong. Money? How much can those things be sold for? Chen Xiao seemed to be certain that Shisheng was behind this. Don't you know how much it costs? Their concept was not bad, but it was still too immature. A model that had just taken shape could not be sold for much money. Of course, there was also the possibility that they had taken a fancy to it and planned to buy it and develop it themselves. Why aren't you talking? Chen Xiao pressed on step by step, yelling somewhat uncontrollably. I saw that you were Chen Xi's friend before, so I let you in and out of the activity room as you please. I was about to graduate, but because of this project, I kept delaying it. Now everything is gone. So it's my fault. Shisheng spread his hands. I didn't sell it. It's up to you to believe it or not. Junior sister. What evidence do you have to prove that you didn't sell it? Then what proof do you have that I was the one who sold it? Did you see the contract I signed with them? Or did you see me having a private conversation with them? Shisheng retorted rudely. Chu, I believe in you. Don't be so agitated. Chen Xi had always been on Shisheng's side. Look at her attitude. She stole our stuff and sold it, yet she's still so arrogant. Chen Xiao was furious. If you have evidence, just sue me. What are you talking about here for? Shisheng turned around and waved his hand in the air. Chen Xi did not hesitate and followed Shisheng out. After they went downstairs, Shisheng let out a sigh of relief. Why did you follow me down here? You're my bro. Of course I followed you. Chen Xi said matter-of-factly. Shisheng glanced at him. Fortunately, you're not blind. I've known you for a long time. Of course, I believe in you. Chen Xi patted his chest, but immediately felt a little dejected. But who is that person? You want to know? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Of course. I spent a lot of effort on this. Chen Xi's expression was a little gloomy. He spent most of his time here except for classes. How could he not be angry when it was suddenly gone? Let's go. Where to? Internet. Huh. How could he be in the mood to go online? Chu, are you really going? Aren't you angry that they slandered you? We've known each other for so long. Chu, slow down. What have you been eating lately? You walk so fast. I can't even catch up with you with my long legs. Shisheng booked a private room in the internet cafe, the kind that could seat 2 people. What's the name of the company? Shisheng asked as he turned on the computer. Chunfeng Technology Company Limited. The internet cafe's speed was pretty good. The computer was turned on very quickly. Shisheng searched for the company online. It was not a small company, but the reviews were not very good. Are you sure you want to know who did it? Shisheng asked Chen Xi one last time. Chen Xi nodded without hesitation. Shisheng and Chen Xi walked out of the internet cafe. Shisheng patted Chen Xi's shoulder sympathetically. Chen Xi's expression was very gloomy, and there was a hint of anger. Why did he do this? He did not understand. He was the one who took the lead in this project. Why did he do this at a time like this? For money, of course. Men did it for money, power, and beauty. Women did it for money, beauty, and men. There was no difference. But we've worked so hard for so long. Are we just going to let someone else have a wedding dress? Chen Xi was still somewhat unwilling. A wedding dress? Shisheng snorted. You think too highly of that small team of yours. There will be a time when that company cries. Just you wait and see. Tuchu. What did she mean by that? Shisheng smiled but did not answer Chen-Shi's question. Chen-Shi was in a bad mood. Shisheng did not ask him to send him back to the dorm. Just a kiss. Someone's here. Who's here at a time like this? If you don't kiss me, I won't leave. Just a kiss? Shisheng looked at the two lovey-dovey people in front of the dorm and wished he could poke his eyes blind. Another King lovey-dovey act. No, I have to find that beast. Bah, Professor Qin, to soothe my wounded heart. Shisheng turned around and kicked a can that some idiot had thrown around. The sound was very loud. The two lovey-dovey people immediately looked over. When Xiao Qian saw who it was, she was clearly stunned. She felt awkward as if she had been caught red-handed. She pushed Tang Jinshan aside and walked toward Shisheng. Xiao Chu, can you not tell Mama about this for now? She was very afraid that Xiaomu would find out about her relationship with Tang Jinshan. Xiaomu had always hoped that she would find a boy older than her. But now that she had found someone younger than her by 4 years, Xiaomu would definitely not agree. What does it have to do with me? Shisheng paused for a moment, then took out 2 condoms from his pocket. Be careful. Xiao Qian, who was holding the condoms. There's something wrong with this little sister of hers. Shisheng. Why are condoms randomly appearing again? How much did the company pay you for advertising? Little fairy, 1 yuan. Shisheng. Idiots have no future. Chapter 427. Shisheng felt that it was wise of the seller to put her in the safety net. She walked from the dormitory to the school gate, and all she saw were young couples doing bad things in the dark. Shisheng handed out a box, and by the time she reached the school gate, there was only 1 box left. Shisheng looked around and didn't see anyone who could give it to her, so she had to put it back in her pocket. She took a taxi to Qinji's neighborhood. She planned to climb over the wall like last time and enter the neighborhood through the window. She walked to the back of the neighborhood and looked at the wall that was obviously not completely dry yet was much taller. *CK. The property management of this neighborhood was too professional. The wall was smooth, and the vines from last time were all gone. The little spiritual power in her body couldn't help her fly. Shisheng scratched the wall. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't breathe. System, I want to talk to you about life and the sea of stars. I'm innocent. Why did I get shot even though I didn't do anything? The wall was too high, and there was no point to climb. Unless she could use her sword, she couldn't climb up at all. But her sword, it was still upgrading. Shisheng squatted in the corner and searched for things in her space. After a long time, she finally found a ladder. The name of this ladder was awesome. It was called the Cloud Ladder, and it was said that one could go up to the sky. Shisheng didn't know if it could go up to the sky, but climbing walls was definitely not a problem. The cloud ladder as thick as a thumb lay quietly in Shisheng's palm. But how did she use this thing? Input spiritual power? No change. Did she need to cast a spell? Mommy coax. Big. The cloud ladder didn't change at all. Drip blood to recognize it as its owner? Shisheng took out a knife from nowhere and poked it with her fingertip, dripping blood onto the cloud ladder. Shisheng felt that the spiritual power in the air was fluctuating faster. Most of it rushed into the cloud ladder, but the surrounding spiritual power was quickly exhausted. The cloud ladder didn't change at all. Insufficient spiritual power. Flip's table. This thing wasn't her sword, and it could change whenever she wanted. What are you doing? The sudden voice startled Shisheng. She looked in the direction of the voice and saw Qin Ge standing not far away, looking at her strangely. Just now he saw her mumbling something about big, and then he saw her cut her finger. #my student seems to be sick. #Professor Qin, long time no see. Shisheng calmly took back the deceptive ladder and greeted Qin Ge with a smile. Qin Ge ignored her and walked toward the main entrance of the neighborhood. Professor Qin, what are you doing out in the middle of the night? Shisheng chased after him. What does it have to do with you? She didn't even come to his class, and she still wanted to control him? Humph. It's so late. What are you doing here? It was almost 12 o'clock. She was a girl. Wasn't she afraid of running into bad guys? Professor Chin was very unhappy. I was waiting for you, Professor Chin. His heart felt a little better. When they reached the main entrance of the neighborhood, Chin-gu swiped his card to enter. The door only allowed one person to pass, so the Shisheng was stopped outside. Shisheng jumped over the counter with the help of her credit card. The security guard was dumbfounded. Girl, do you think he's dead? Girls who coveted beauty these days were really bold. Mr. Chin. The security guard hurried over and looked at the Shisheng vigilantly. Is there anything I can help you with? Chin-gu really wanted the security guard to throw her out, but of course he could only think about it. He was afraid that she would jump through the window again. She's my student. It's fine. Oh. Being a professor was really good. He had such a beautiful student coming to him. The security guard returned to the security room, looking back repeatedly. He must be thinking that being a professor is really good. He has such a beautiful student coming to him, Shisheng interrupted. Get out of here if you're talking nonsense. Chin-gu glared at him coldly. Shisheng raised his hands in surrender. Chin-ji's house was very clean. Shisheng didn't look carefully last time. This time he came in and looked around Chin-ji's house like an inspection official. Of course she didn't go to the bedroom. After all, that was a private area. They didn't have anything to do with each other yet. Chin-gu changed into home clothes and went into the kitchen to make food. He didn't care what Shisheng was doing outside. Sometimes, trust was so inexplicable. Although they weren't very familiar with each other, they were very assured. Shisheng popped his head out of the door. Professor Chin, what are you doing? Chin-gu didn't answer. I haven't eaten either. I haven't eaten since noon. Give me a big bowl of noodles. Did she think this was a restaurant? She even brought food? Chin-gu frowned. She hadn't eaten at noon. What was she doing? Shisheng looked at the small bowl of noodles Chin-gu brought to the table. I'll make noodles for you. It wasn't enough. She really hadn't eaten since noon. She also spent so much time with Chen-shi at the internet cafe. How could she have time? That's it. Shisheng saw that Chin-gu didn't intend to go into the kitchen and couldn't help but ask. It's up to you whether you want to eat or not. Chin-gu sat down, picked up the chopsticks and began to eat. Shisheng. Who told you to offend her? Serves you right. Shisheng took 2 bites of noodles. His eyes suddenly lit up. Professor Chin, you're so good at cooking. Chin-gu pretended not to hear and ate quietly. Shisheng slurped the noodles quickly but didn't make a lot of noise. Chin-gu looked up and sized him up. A small bowl of noodles wasn't much. Shisheng finished it in a few minutes. His stomach was still empty after eating, but it was much better than when he hadn't eaten anything before. Chin-gu took the bowl, washed it, dried it, and put it in the cupboard. The pot next to him was bubbling. After he finished washing the dishes, Chin-gu turned off the fire and took out a clean bowl. He scooped out a bowl of porridge and took out the dishes warmed in the microwave. Shisheng was still sitting at the dining table, looking at the ornaments he had placed on the display cabinet in the living room. Chin-ji's face darkened. He put down the ornaments. Not hungry anymore? Shisheng immediately put down the ornaments. I'm hungry. It took longer to make porridge than noodles, so he made a small bowl of noodles for her to fill her stomach. Professor Chin, you're so nice, Shisheng said vaguely as he drank the porridge. Aren't you going to class if I'm nice? Chin-gu put the ornaments back in place. Looking at the sofa that she had messed up at some point, he wanted to kick her out. Class, what kind of class is this? Professor Chin, why don't you give me private tutoring? Chin-gu. Shisheng was already imagining the professor giving her a private tutoring session. Unfortunately, she refused. After all, she wasn't sure yet. Chin-gu put the ornaments away one by one. We'll start tomorrow. Shisheng. No, professor, listen to me. I just said it casually. As a professor, you can't do this. You'll be exposed. Obviously, Chin-gu didn't want to listen anymore. Since she had delivered herself to his door, then she shouldn't blame him. Shisheng thought Chin-gu would refuse like last time, but who knew that he would get himself into trouble? Asking her to tutor. He couldn't bear to look at the image. He'd better skip class tomorrow. I'll send you back to the dormitory. After Shisheng finished eating, Qingge changed back into the same clothes as before. The dormitory is closed. It was almost the wee hours of the morning. It was long past curfew. Although the fourth-year dormitory didn't check the dormitory, going back in the middle of the night would be recorded. Chapter 428. Just let me put up with it for one night. Shisheng looked at Qingge with evil intentions. Qiao Chu, staying in a bachelor's apartment in the middle of the night. Aren't you afraid that I'll do something to you? Qingge looked serious, but his words were not. What do you want to do to me? What do you think a single man and woman can do? Actually, if Professor Qin is willing, I don't mind. Shisheng looked shy, but her heart was full of negative energy. If this guy dared to do anything to her, she would hack him to death. Qingge. As a girl, did she know what it meant to be reserved? Qingge shook his head and threw Shisheng's jacket to her. Patter. Something fell out of Shisheng's jacket. They looked down at the floor at the same time. Shisheng. Qingge. The atmosphere was strangely awkward. Qingge looked at Shisheng meaningfully. Shisheng's face was calm. Qingge bent down and picked up the thing. He leaned forward slightly and handed it to Shisheng. Qiao Chu. Shisheng took it calmly and explained. I won it from the lucky draw. Lucky draw? Only one? Qin Ji's mouth was inexplicably cold. He turned and walked out of the door. No, Professor, listen to me. I've given the others away, but I didn't have time to give this away. Qingge had already opened the door. Shisheng gritted his teeth, put the thing back in his pocket, and walked out calmly as if nothing had happened. They were all adults. What was there to be afraid of? Shameless people were invincible. Qingge booked a room for Shisheng in the hotel next door, and went home to sleep. Shisheng was almost a walking emoji. He didn't understand this professor's brain at all. Generally speaking, animals' brain circuits were definitely different. The next day, Shisheng decisively skipped class. Qin Ji's phone calls kept coming in, and Shisheng quickly blocked him. Sometimes people had to be decisive. Say no to things you didn't like. Even if the person who wanted to do something you didn't like was the person you liked. Shisheng was a principled scumbag. In the lecture hall, Qingge lectured on the podium with a dark face, and the people below took advantage of the time when he turned around to discuss. The great truant didn't come again? Didn't you see Professor Qin's expression when he was taking attendance? If the truant was standing in front of him, I suspect he would stab her to death. Wasn't there a rumor that Professor Qin was chasing after a truant? How can you believe that? Professor Qin is so fussy. He must be unhappy that someone skipped his class. That's why he chased after her. She skipped classes for more than a semester. I think Professor Qin is going crazy. That's true. I had to do last week's homework 5 times before I passed. I'm starting to doubt my life. You only did it 5 times, I'll do it 7 times. A group of students observed a moment of silence below. He didn't know if it was too late to change his major now. After class, Qingge assigned this week's homework amidst the wailing of the students. When Qingge walked out of the classroom, the vice principal who was walking toward him made him frown. Little Qin. The vice principal was in his 50s. His hair was white, and he smiled like a Maitreya Buddha. Vice principal. Qingge greeted him indifferently. The vice principal chuckled and pointed to a place with fewer people in the distance. Let's go there for a walk. Qingge guessed that he had something to say and nodded slightly. The vice principal first talked about some unimportant things before finally getting to the point. Little Qin, the students have been reacting to your teaching style recently. You know that our school is open to teaching, so the teachers don't have to be so strict. Qin Ji's frown deepened. I know you're doing this for their own good, but you're still young. The more these children are suppressed, the more rebellious they become. I see that you've been under a lot of pressure recently. Why don't you take a break for a while? The vice principal said with a smile. Qingge, however, understood everything. The Qin family was pressuring the school. If it was before, Qingge would have resigned without a second thought. But A figure involuntarily flashed across Qin Ji's mind. Little Qin, the school doesn't have any other intentions. Don't be pressured. We just want you to take a break. The vice principal patted Qin Ji's shoulder. Vice principal, can you give me some time to think about it? The vice principal sighed. He was the one who recruited this person, and he had high hopes for him. Unfortunately, in front of the rich and powerful, no matter how talented he was, it was useless. Qin Ge was good at everything, but he was stubborn. Take your time to think about it. The vice principal shook his head and left. The peach blossoms around the path were in full bloom. The breeze blew, and the shadows of the flowers swayed. The pink petals danced in the wind, spinning and landing on the shoulders and hair of the boy under the tree. Qin Ge slowly reached out to cover his face. After moving his hand away, his face was cold again. The school only gave Qin Ge a week. Qin Ge went to class every day as if nothing had happened. When he returned to the neighborhood, the security guard looked at him with a troubled expression. Mr. Qin, I'm sorry, you can't go in. Qin Ge didn't ask why. There was nothing to ask. He understood everything. Qin Xian was forcing him. In the noisy bar, Qin Ge sat in a dark corner, drinking glass after glass of hard liquor. Scantily clad women glanced in his direction from time to time. There were also some bold people who moved closer to him. However, before they could get close to him, they were scared away by his cold eyes. Gradually, no one dared to get close to him. With the deafening music and the dancing crowd, it was like entering another world. Choo-choo, do you know what he told me? Chun-Shi looked depressed. He said that you're a girl. Even if you did this kind of thing, you'd be easily forgiven. But he's different. His future is ruined. To hell with his future. Choo-choo, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If he hadn't asked Choo-choo to go to the activity room, Chen Xiao wouldn't have thought of making Choo-choo his scapegoat. You didn't see through people clearly. Keep your eyes open in the future. Shisheng poured wine for Chen-Shi. Take it as a lesson. Chen-Shi drank the wine like water, and Shisheng didn't stop him. People were rebellious. The more you stopped them, the more they wanted it. Chen Zhao's family background wasn't good. Back then, this project was led by him and another senior. In the end, that senior went abroad and threw the project to Chen Xiao. At first, Chen Xiao wanted to do this project well, and put all his energy into it. He even put his graduation behind. However, something had happened to his family recently, and he urgently needed money. There was still some money left from last semester's sponsorship, but Chen-Shi was in charge of the money. He couldn't get it, so he could only set his sights on the project. Someone had to take the blame for this matter. So Chen Xiao set his sights on Shisheng. At that time, Chen Xiao was desperate. His father owed millions of dollars in gambling debts. If he didn't pay back the money, his mother and sister would be forced to death by the debt collectors. At that time, Chen Xiao only thought about how to get the money. His IQ was basically in the negative. Even if Shisheng didn't do anything and directly called the police would quickly find out. As Shisheng accompanied Chen-Shi, the dancing crowd suddenly broke out into a commotion. Shisheng glanced over, and her gaze paused for a moment. Chapter 429. Chen-Shi's alcohol tolerance was average, so it didn't take long for him to get drunk. Fortunately, he wasn't a drunkard. Shisheng called Chen-Shi's roommate to pick him up. After handing Chen-Shi over to his roommate, she got up and walked in the other direction of the bar. Shisheng squeezed through the crowd. The smell of the bar wasn't good. After sitting for so long, Shisheng felt a little stuffy. She sat down beside Qin Ge and took a sip of the wine on the table. Cough, cough. Shisheng choked. Professor Qin, what are you drinking? It tasted awful. Qin Ge took the cup from her hand and said in a cold and distant tone. Why are you here? Why can't I be here? Shisheng raised her eyebrows. Qin Ge glanced at her, and continued to pour wine. Unlike Chen-Shi, Qin Ji's expression didn't change after drinking for a long time. Of course, it could be because of the light that Shisheng couldn't see clearly. After finishing the bottle of wine, Qin Ge got up with his clothes. Shisheng hurried after him. It started to rain outside the bar. The drizzle was like countless silver threads falling from the sky. Under the colorful neon lights, it covered the city with a layer of gauze. Everything looked hazy. In March and April, the temperature difference between day and night was huge. Even the rain was a little cold. Because the sun was a little hot during the day, Shisheng only wore a thin shirt. When she came out, she felt a gust of cold air sweep over her from head to toe. Damn, what kind of weather is this, Professor Qin? Shisheng turned around. Professor Qin was no longer beside her. Professor Qin had already walked out. Shisheng. What happened to being a gentleman? Shisheng thought about it and still chased after him. Something was wrong with Qin Ge. The two of them walked one after the other. The shops on the street had already closed. Shisheng couldn't even find a place to buy an umbrella. Shisheng jogged a few steps and tugged at Qin Ji's sleeve. Hey, Professor Qin, you're not planning to take a walk in the rain, are you? This wasn't romantic at all. The most romantic thing was to be done in bed. Ahem, seriously. Qin Ge turned around. He probably did not expect Shisheng to be following him. He paused, took off his jacket, and put it on Shisheng. Go back to school. Don't follow me. Shisheng rolled his eyes. Professor Qin, please look at the time. Do you want me to climb over the wall? Qin Ge subconsciously glanced at his watch. The hour hand had already reached 12. It was early in the morning. Back to my home. He couldn't go back to his house. Ba-ba-ba. The sharp sound of a car honking came from the side of the road. A red sports car stopped by the side of the road. The window was rolled down halfway, and a young and beautiful woman was sitting inside. Qin Xian. Qin Xian looked like a socialite who had just come out of a high-end banquet. Her makeup was beautiful as she stepped out of the car in high heels. Holding a light blue umbrella, she leisurely walked toward Qin Ge. Shisheng subconsciously grasped Qin Ji's arm. A flirtatious slut came to snatch him away from her. Eyes soared. Qin Ge felt the strength coming from the person beside him, and his heart actually relaxed a little. Qin Ge. Qin Xian didn't even look at Shisheng. She just looked at Qin Ge affectionately. I'm here to pick you up. Come back with me. Impossible. Qin Ji's attitude was as tough as ever. Hearing Qin Ji's answer, Shisheng took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Ge with his petite body. Beautiful lady, I'm keeping Professor Qin. If you want to keep him, please line up behind. The kept Professor Qin. When did he become a kept man? Qin Xian didn't take Shisheng seriously just now. She had already found out who Qin Ge was in contact with at school. Xiao Chu was the daughter of a small boss. One word from her could make them go bankrupt. She knew best how outstanding Qin Ge was. His excellence was destined to attract many people, but these people wouldn't be the ones who stood by his side in the end. Only her. Only Qin Xian was worthy of him. Qin Xian didn't lose her composure like last time. She carried the elegance and nobility of a socialite. Young lady, do you know how much Qin Ge is worth? You can't afford it even if you go bankrupt. Qin Ge isn't someone you can covet. I'm willing to go bankrupt even if I have to. How could she possibly go bankrupt? We're all King humans. Why can't we covet him? Now cross-species relationships are allowed, but humans aren't allowed to date other humans? In terms of arrogance, Shisheng definitely dared to pat his chest and say that he was number one. Qin Xian didn't want to pester Shisheng endlessly. She smiled slightly. Miss Qiao, right? Your family's business is just a small business. You haven't even entered this circle yet. Are you sure you want to snatch him from me? When I want to be awesome, the Qin family has to kneel down and lick my boots. Shisheng didn't say this because Qin Ji's surname was also Qin. Shisheng snorted. I don't care about the circle you're in. I can't even talk about snatching him because he's not even one of your people. Don't you know that love is free? You're not even his mother. Why do you care so much? The Qin family wasn't considered a top wealthy family. With Shisheng's ability to make money, even if she went to a top wealthy family to get acquainted, there would still be people who would support her. Miss Qiao. Qin Xian's expression finally changed. There was a hint of threat in her tone. It's okay if you're willful, but the Qiao family can't follow you and be willful, right? Shisheng's eyes curved. Miss Qin, it's okay if you're willful, But the Qin family can't follow you and be willful, right? Apart from the way she addressed Qin Xian, Shisheng returned the same sentence to her word for word. I'm barefooted, so why should I be afraid of someone with shoes? If the Qiao family is gone, I can just build another one. I have plenty of money. The conversation between the two was very fast. Qin Ge only reacted when he heard this. He quickly pulled Shisheng behind him. Qin Xian, this has nothing to do with her. Qin Ji's actions seemed to provoke Qin Xian. There was a hint of ruthlessness in her eyes. Miss Qiao, you asked for it. What are you trying to do? Shisheng pushed Qin Ge away and walked towards Qin Xian aggressively. There was a strange smile on her face. Together with the lights behind her, she looked gloomy and scary. Qin Xian felt her scalp go numb. She couldn't help but take a step back. Miss Qiao, what are you trying to do? Nothing. Shisheng said casually, but he didn't stop walking. He closed in on Qin Xian step by step, until Qin Xian's body tilted and her back was against her car. Shisheng slammed his hand on the car window and hit Qin Xian with a handsome posture. Shisheng reached out and lifted Qin Xian's chin. He blew at her like a hooligan. Miss Qin, I see that you're not brave enough. Qin Xian's legs went weak. Did this woman want to kill her? Murder is against the law. Don't worry, you're so good-looking. I definitely can't bear to kill you. In other words, killing someone wasn't against the law, so she wanted to kill her? When ordinary people saw people who weren't in the same class as them, their first reaction was either fear, envy, or inferiority complex. But this woman was only arrogant. There was no fear or jealousy. Moreover, it was as if she had eaten explosives. She would explode at the slightest provocation. Chapter 430. The next day, when Qin Ge woke up, he found himself lying on the floor with his clothes disheveled. His nose hurt, and he wanted to sneeze. Why was he sleeping on the floor? Last night Qin Ji's head hurt. Didn't he sleep on the sofa last night? He got up from the floor and subconsciously looked at the bed. There was no one on the bed, and there were sounds coming from the bathroom. Qin Ge tried to recall what happened last night, but he really couldn't remember anything. Shisheng came out and saw Professor Qin standing barefoot on the floor with a red mark around his neck. Thinking about what happened last night, Shisheng got angry. This guy was a beast. If not for the fact that she was stronger than him, she might have been inexplicably slept with by him last night. He might not even remember. Just thinking about it made his heart hurt. She had already confirmed that he was Feng Xiai, but sleeping with him while unconscious was no different from rape. Although she didn't mind. Qin Ge suddenly sneezed. Shisheng frowned slightly. Did he catch a cold last night? It was just a man catching a cold. What was there to be afraid of? Qiaochu. Qin Ge endured the discomfort and asked with a straight face. Nothing happened last night, right? Nothing happened, right? He was slow to recover from the alcohol, so he couldn't remember what happened last night. What do you want to happen, Professor Qin? Shisheng asked with a half-smile. If Professor Qin is willing, we can do it now. Qin Ge. She didn't have any girl's modesty. It's good that nothing happened. Qin Ge avoided Shisheng and went into the bathroom. There was a large mirror in the bathroom. Qin Ge saw that the man in the mirror had an abnormal blush on his face. His head was still heavy. He must have caught a cold. Qin Ge tried to convince himself and washed his face with cold water. His fingers accidentally touched his neck, and there was a numbing pain. Only then did he notice the red mark around his neck. Something really did happen last night. Qin Ge quickly peeled off his clothes. Other than the red mark on his neck, there were no other marks. He probably didn't do it with her. He suddenly felt a bit disappointed. Qin Ge slapped himself in the face. What was he thinking? When Qin Ge cleaned up and went out, the room was already empty. Qin Ge received a call from the bar telling him to get his wallet. The place where he sat last night was rather remote. His wallet had fallen there, and he had only found it when he was cleaning up in the morning. By the time he got his wallet and rushed back to school, the first class had already started. The fact that Professor Qin was late was like a fairy tale. Very soon, it caused a storm on the forum. Of course, Shisheng still didn't go to class. Probably because of what had happened at the hotel, Qingge didn't call Shisheng. Anyway, he might not be able to get through. Most of the time, his number was on the blacklist. The school only gave him a few days left. Choo-choo, thank you for the day before yesterday. In order to thank Shisheng for accompanying him that day, Chunshi specially treated her to a meal. By the way, Chunshi was speechless. By the way, what's going on between you and Professor Qin? Is Professor Qin pursuing you? Recently, gossip about her and Professor Qin had been spreading on the forum. Where did you hear that? Qingge would pursue her? She might as well just sleep with him. The forum. You guys have been quite close recently. Choo-choo, let me remind you that Professor Qin is a teacher and you are a student. You have to think carefully. Even if Qingge was very young, he was still their teacher. Who knew what kind of rumors would spread? Teacher and student. Don't you think this couple is very cute? Shisheng blinked and asked Chunshi. Don't read too much novels, Choo-choo. Reality wasn't as simple as novels. Shisheng really wanted to say that this was a novel. But after thinking about it, he decided not to. Otherwise, this guy would call her Chinibu again. On the way back to school, Chunshi was complaining to Shisheng. Suddenly, a person appeared out of nowhere and blocked their way. Chunshi looked at Qin Xian suspiciously. This woman was dressed too exquisitely. She looked like a rich young lady. Choo-choo, do you know her? Chunshi asked softly. Qin Xian glanced at Chunshi contemptuously and said to Shisheng, Miss Qiao, I want to talk to you. Miss Qin, I don't think we have anything to talk about. Shisheng looked at Qin Xian with a fake smile. This girl was quite brave. She was so scared. Qin Xian was actually a little scared, but she had brought people with her today. Those people gave her a lot of courage. What will it take for you to leave Qingge? Qin Xian had a feeling that this girl was special to Qingge. She couldn't let her stay by Qin Ji's side. How much are you giving me? Qin Xi. How did she know that she was going to give her money? This woman didn't follow the rules. But this saved her the trouble of asking. 5 million. Leave Qingge and never appear in front of him again. Qin Xian took out a check and wrote out a check for 500. Qingge is worth this much in your heart. Shisheng flicked the check. This is too cheap. Qin Xian frowned. Miss Qiao, don't be greedy. You want to send me away with a check, but you won't let me bargain? Damn, could her feng ci be bought with money? Qingge is not an item. If he's not an item, why are you giving me money? Was there something wrong with her? She was contradicting herself. Qin Xian took a deep breath. I'm giving you money to give you some face, so that you won't look so bad when you leave Qingge. Chunshi. She was trying to send him away with money, but she still wanted to give him some face? What face? It was more like humiliation. Chunshi grabbed Shisheng's arm. Choo-choo, let's go. This woman was crazy. Shisheng told him to calm down, and took out a few notes from his pocket. He took out a 10 and 3 yuan, folded them on top of the check, and stuffed it into Qin Xian's hand. Miss Qin, take the 5 million. Please don't appear in front of me again. The extra 13 yuan is my tip for you. Qin Xian. Was she using her money to send her away? She was even giving her a tip. Qin Xian was so angry that her chest was heaving. She screamed at the people behind her. Arrest her! She was going to teach this ungrateful woman a lesson today. Qin Xian brought 5 or 6 burly men with her. They were wearing black suits and sunglasses, and they aggressively surrounded Shisheng and Chunshi. Chunshi pulled Shisheng behind him, his expression turning a bit unsightly. Choo-choo, I'll hold them back. You run first, Chunshi whispered to Shisheng. With so many people, the chances of the two of them escaping were very small, so he could only let her run first. He was a man, so even if he was beaten up, it wouldn't matter. Chunshi's small body was like an elephant compared to a lion when compared to the people in front of him. Shisheng shook his head and silently began to take out his sword. She stood behind Chunshi, so no one saw how she took out a long sword that shone with a rainbow light. But the light blinded many people present. Chapter 431. Shisheng was also a little dumbfounded. My sword is amazing. King evolved into a Mary Sue sword? That 7-colored light wasn't fake. It was real. Multicolored light slowly flowed from the sword's body, circulating endlessly. Shisheng was like a retard, looking left and right with the sword in his hand. Other than the Mary Sue special effects, there did not seem to be anything special. Hey, where did you buy this prop? It's quite realistic. Qin Xian sneered sarcastically. Choo-choo. Chen-Shi also looked constipated. Why are you still so immature at this time? Shisheng waved the iron sword. The colorful sword drew a colorful shadow in the air. It seemed lighter than before. He just did not know how powerful it was. He would have to wait until he could casually hack people to test it out. Come on, step back. Shisheng pushed Chen-Shi to the back. Chen-Shi nervously stopped him. Choo-choo. Xiao-Chu, you're quite stubborn. Can you beat so many people by yourself? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and catch her. The burly men who had not moved at all immediately moved. 3 minutes later, wails filled the air. Qin Xian stood in the distance with a pale face, her legs trembling. Her eyes were full of fear. Some were afraid of Shisheng, and some were afraid of the sword. She felt that all the books she had read all these years had been for nothing. How could there be a sword in this world that could emit a rainbow light like an anime? Shisheng stepped on a bodyguard and stabbed the iron sword with the Mary Sue light into his chest. Madam, please spare us. Madam, we're just doing this for money. Please spare us. The bodyguard was trembling in fear. Wasn't she just a little girl? Why didn't anyone tell them that this little girl was so powerful? They wanted a refund. They did not want to do this job anymore. Take pictures over there. Shisheng suddenly pointed at the onlookers. The passers-by who were taking pictures with their phones trembled and prepared to run away. Take a good picture of me. Remember to add special effects. The passers-by. They thought that she was going to hack them. In the end, she asked them to take a good picture of her. Also, don't you have your own special effects? How were they going to use special effects? Someone was doing a live broadcast on the live streaming platform. The scene of Shisheng beating up the bodyguards with the Mary Sue's sword had made the streamer's fans reach new heights. The bullet screen took up the entire screen. Are they filming a movie? Mary Sue special effects? Awesome, my Mary Sue. The light of Mary Sue conquers the world. This girl is so handsome. No, I'm turning gay. Why was the background so similar to a university? Host requesting coordinates. Also seeking coordinates. So Mary Sue's light can also be so beautiful. Good Sue. The video of the fight between Shisheng and Shisheng was also uploaded to various social media platforms. Many people expressed that it refreshed their understanding of Mary Sue's light. With 9 points of good looks, handsome action scenes, and Mary Sue special effects, Shisheng successfully became an internet celebrity. At this moment, the internet celebrity Sheng was still stepping on the bodyguard. She smiled arrogantly at Qin Xian. Miss Qin, if you're not convinced, you can call for a van of people. The onlookers. An entire van. How much contempt was this? Qin Xian was a rich young lady. If it weren't for these bodyguards, she wouldn't have dared to provoke Shisheng, who had left a deep impression on her last time. Now that the bodyguard was lying on the ground, Qin Xian didn't dare to do anything. Qin Xian had seen big scenes before, but she had never seen a girl who would start a fight without saying anything. Shisheng put away the Mary Sue's sword, kicked the unlucky bodyguard, and left with Chen-Shi. As the brother of the internet celebrity Sheng, Chen-Shi was still dumbfounded when he left the scene of the incident. Since when was his brother so awesome? Choo-choo. How come I didn't know that you learned martial arts? She had some basic martial arts skills, but today, she was dancing with a rainbow-colored iron sword as if it was a national swordsmanship competition. This had already overturned his understanding of martial arts. No, where did she get that sword? The iron sword was still in Shisheng's hands. Chen-Shi glanced at it. It shouldn't be a prop, right? The sword looked very real. There's a type of person. Shisheng dragged his words. They're born with a kind of talent. You can attribute it to my talent. Chen-Shi. Why don't you say that you inherited some grandpa's legacy? Where did you get this sword? Is it real? How did it light up? Is there something inside? Shisheng raised the iron sword in front of Chunxi. This sword is the legendary Mary Sue's sword. What do you think? Isn't it cool? In the past, you could only see it in memes. Now that you've seen it in real life, are you excited? Iron sword. I don't really want to change the name. Chunxi. So where did you get this sword? In the end, Chunxi didn't manage to find out where the sword came from. In the end, he was led astray by Shisheng. How could Chunxi find out something that even Feng Xi couldn't find out? Shisheng became famous very quickly. That night, someone found out about her identity. She was a second-year student at a university. She was famous for skipping classes and had an ambiguous relationship with a gold-plated professor. Why don't you go to heaven? The goddess is actually from a university. I'll fill in a university this year. Goddess, I'm here. Confucius said. Who made the special effects of Mary Sue's sword? There are no traces of Photoshop. There's hope for domestic dramas. A certain point. Are the people above ignorant? As a member of the audience, I can tell you that the special effects are self-contained. 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 Important things must be said 3 times. Little fairy is me. Speaking of which, why are you guys so focused on that sword? Isn't it the goddess cool kung fu? Cool for less than 3 seconds. Because Mary Sue's sword refreshed our worldview. Old times. Ugly people are always up to no good. Who knows how much money it cost to make it? You guys actually believed it. Are you retarded? Queen Xiaochu, the person above is retarded. P.S. If you don't like it, call a van of people over. The past can't go back. If you don't like it, call a van of people over +1. It's so hard to choose a name. If you don't like it, call a van of people over +2. Falling leaves knowing autumn. If you don't like it, call a van of people over +3. These netizens not only dug up Shisheng's social media account, but they also dug up the novel she posted on a certain website. The novel's comment section, which originally had few people, was immediately occupied by the powerful Mary Sue's sword fans. The original residents were panicking. Dada, why aren't you filling in the holes? What are you doing there? You've attracted so many Mary Sue's. Shisheng scrolled through the comments section with a serious face. After a while, she posted all the manuscripts in the stockpile. The original residents were even more panicked. Dada posting manuscripts meant that she was going to be a eunuch. This was simply an immortal law. This account had only been created a few months ago, but there were already 5 books. The longest book was only 200,000 words, and the shortest was no more than 50,000 words. But none of them were finished. Shisheng closed the webpage with satisfaction. I'm going to be the eunuch queen's woman. Asterisk who can compete with Mary Sue's sword. Chapter 432. Qingge sat on a bench outside the school, the light from his phone reflecting on his cold face. The screen was playing a video of Shisheng beating up the bodyguards earlier in the day. Qingge's entire body was tense. It was only at the end of the video when she knocked everyone down that Qingge finally relaxed. Professor Qin, are you alone? A familiar voice suddenly came from behind him. Want to go out? Qingge's body shook, and he immediately turned off his phone and turned it upside down. He turned around. The girl was leaning against the bench, looking at him with her head tilted. Her eyes were bright, without any coldness or calmness. It was as if there were tiny ripples in them. No. Qingge forced himself to look away and said coldly, no. Shisheng propped himself up on the bench and jumped over handsomely to sit next to Qingge. Why not? You're alone and I'm alone. It's perfect. Qingge. What kind of reason is that? There are only so many people in this world. He stood up with a cold face and walked away without a word. Shisheng. Feng Xi, your temper is really something. Silent at the drop of a hat. Picky at the drop of a hat. Shy at the drop of a hat. Sundra at the drop of a hat. Why don't you go to heaven? Shisheng caught up to Qingge. Professor Qin, have you eaten? I've already eaten. Qingge had just answered when his stomach grumbled uncontrollably. Professor Qin, your digestion is quite good. Shisheng sighed. Qin Ge covered himself with his clothes and asked with a frown, it's curfew time. Aren't you going back to school? No, I have something to do. Shisheng shook his head. You have something to do in the middle of the night? Do it tomorrow. It was so late, and she was still wandering around outside. Shisheng looked up at Qin Ge and asked with a smile, you care about me? You're my student. Of course I care about you. Qin Ji's answer was very official. I'm not in school right now. Why do you care about me? Shisheng pouted. This damned Sundara. Qin Ge turned and walked back, his tone firm. I'll send you back. No. Qin Ge frowned and stared at her with his torch-like eyes. The light in the vicinity was very weak. The hazy warm light was like a thin veil, covering the emotions that were born in the darkness and were difficult to suppress. The leaves rustled in the night wind. Time under the tree was stopped by a pair of invisible hands, stopping at this moment. Don't move. A rough voice came from the darkness. Two men in black hoods rushed out from the side with knives in their hands, aiming at Shisheng and Qin Ge respectively. Hand over your wallet and phone. The criminal was probably a habitual offender. He deliberately changed his voice when he spoke, but his imposing manner was not weak. Shisheng turned his eyes slightly and looked at Gangster A as if he was looking at an idiot. Robbery? Nonsense, hurry up and take it out, Criminal A growled. Why did he ask such an obvious question? Was he scared silly? What's the point of robbing me? If you have the ability, go rob a bank. Gangster A was furious. If we can rob a bank, why would we rob you? Shisheng shrugged. That's because you don't have the ability. If you can't even be the best robbers, what's the point of you living? You might as well die. Criminal A. What's with all this negative energy? As a normal person, shouldn't he advise them to be good people? Why are you talking nonsense with her? Hurry up, someone's coming, Criminal B urged. Criminal A pushed the knife in Shisheng's direction. Hurry up and give it to me. Otherwise, don't blame my knife for not having eyes. Knives don't have eyes because people don't have eyes. Bam. Clang. Everything happened too quickly. Before Criminal B could react, his partner was already lying on the ground. The little girl who looked easy to bully was holding a Mary Sue's sword that shone with a rainbow light. The tip of the sword was pressed against his partner's throat. Where did the sword come from? Where did the sword come from? Where did she pull out such a Chinibu sword from? It must be a prop. 3 seconds later, Criminal B reacted abruptly and rushed toward Qin Ge, pressing the knife against Qin Ji's waist. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. Put down the knife or I'll kill him. Little girl, do you think you can scare me with a toy? You're still too inexperienced. Hurry up and hand over the money or don't blame me for being rude. Shisheng's eyes darkened. He exerted a little force on the iron sword. Ah! Criminal A screamed. His voice was ear-piercing. In this darkness, it was even more eerie. Let's see if your knife or my sword is faster. The wicked met the wicked. Let's see who's more ruthless. Shisheng was clearly not a soft-hearted person. Qin Ge looked at her coldly. Even though he was being pressed against by a criminal, he didn't show any other expression. Big brother, big brother. Criminal A was scared out of his wits. She's really going to kill me. Big brother, save me. Shut up. Criminal B scolded. Little girl, this is a society ruled by law. Murder is against the law. You know this is a society ruled by law, yet you still dare to rob. You don't need to be shot for robbery, right? Are you retarded? Shisheng explained to them seriously. This is a surveillance blind spot. You should have seen it before since you chose to rob here. Do you think I wouldn't dare to kill you two scum of society? If you kill us, the police will find our bodies and arrest you. Criminal B pressed the knife against Qin Ge and threatened. Let us go or we'll fight to the death. Criminal B knew he had met a ruthless person. He didn't want money, but only wanted to leave safely. Let him go first. Shisheng exerted more force. Criminal B screamed again and again. There was a deep wound on his neck. Big brother, save me. Criminal B's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. will let him go at the same time. Today was definitely the most unlucky day for them. They had met such a girl who didn't play by the rules. In your dreams, Shi Sheng snorted. Let him go first. Hearing Criminal A's screams, Criminal B was tormented. After a while he couldn't take it anymore and retracted his knife. I'll let him go. You let him go too. Qin Ge retracted his sword. Criminal A clutched his neck and scrambled back to Criminal B. Criminal B's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. He rushed toward Qin Ge. Qin Ge frowned and moved quickly. Criminal B didn't even see his movements clearly when he felt a sharp pain in his wrist. The knife in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. Ah! Qin Ge twisted his hand and kicked his knee. Criminal B's body instantly bent, and he knelt on the ground. Criminal B's face was contorted. His eyes were filled with disbelief. If this man was so powerful, why didn't he fight back just now? Today was really the worst day of his life. Criminal A trembled at the side. Qin Ge glanced over, and he knelt on the ground without any backbone. Big brother, we were wrong. We won't dare to do it again. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.